Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely. As President Trump has touched down moments ago, just before the 3 o'clock hour in the federal city, of course, Joint Base Andrews, home to Air Force One and Marine One, as the Marines and the Navy, the Air Force, get President Trump where he needs to be. And that was a very successful Asian trip with ASEAN and APEC conferences. We will break all of that down for you over the course of the next 2.5 hours leading to tonight's coverage. 5:30 Eastern, the President and the First Lady to celebrate with the kids, with family members on this gorgeous fall evening, an autumn to remember at the White House, a Halloween celebration, and they go all out. You know, President Trump is a builder and a developer by trade, and he knows how to throw a party or two, and aren't the leaves changing so nicely in our nation's capital? Now, we do have playback from President Trump leaving Busan, South Korea, after meeting with the Chinese delegation. We saw a reduction in the fentanyl tariffs from that 20% to 10% to open markets again for soybean exchange and much needed relief for our agricultural subsidies and farmers here at home. This will culminate ultimately in more rare earth discussions and ultimately leading to a trip from President Trump to China to meet again with President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. We do have that playback video for you now. President Trump leaving South Korea. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and in these last couple of days, this is the time family searches for clarity and 40% off of mebendazole through allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, as more options are worth learning about, from right to try to most favored nation status that you're seeing from our Health and Human Services to our government truly in action. More people today are exploring repurposed medications, even generics, for health and longevity. Now, All Family Pharmacy supports this cancer research and finding that mebendazole, amongst other studies, leading to something that can help with this terrible disease. All Family Pharmacy believes you deserve options in your healthcare and the freedom to explore what you feel is right for you and your loved ones. So that's why through tomorrow, through Halloween, October 31st, 40% off of mebendazole, the antiparasitic, used as an off-label for that cancer support for this final week of October. Roughly hours left in the month. 40% off at checkout. No need for the code RSBN that you might be familiar with other discount codes, but rather just visiting allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. It's a dear gift from our friends at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. The 777% truth that the media won't tell you, the mainstream, of course, as we are taking on a legacy media that is at times anti-American and most of the time simply dishonest. Now, over the past years, 20 in fact, a quiet transformation has taken place across America and within world markets. Hidden behind the noise of headlines and spin, there is monetary gold. That coincidence is not consequence. Every dollar printed, every bailout passed, every promise made, whether it's by Republican administrations like George W. Bush or Democrat administrations like that of Barack Hussein Obama, every promise made by Washington has its consequences, steadily diluting the value of the dollar. And with the dollar in decline and BRICS nations working hard to divest from the American dollar around the world, look around as prices climb and inflation continues to affect people right here at home. Confidence fades. The money you worked for buys less every single year. It's not theory, it's arithmetic. That's why Monetary Gold has a complimentary presidential gold guide for you. Call today. Do not delay. It's 888-617-7994. Ask how to eliminate your annual IRA fees for life permanently at RSBNforthegold.com. Yes, RSBNforthegold.com. Call immediately to discover how you can eliminate those IRA fees, again, permanently and for life. And Robert Kiyosaki, a friend of President Trump and someone who knows a thing or two about gold and silver in this bull market, with 5,000 years of human history protecting precious commodities and the retirement and pensions, everything you worked hard for in your savings. It's worth looking towards generational wealth and perhaps purchasing that first or second property, and how gold and silver can diversify that against a weakening dollar. And Robert, our friend, Mr. Kiyosaki, warns of 2 bank failures this year alone. Think about that. Nearly 500 during the Obama administration and 16 over the course of President Trump from the first term to the second term. So regardless of who's in office and how well or not well they're doing, gold and silver can definitely help your portfolio. Monetary gold, wealth, security, preservation, it's all right there for you at RSBNforthegold.com. Thank you for sponsoring us here on the right side of history as we await the President of the United States, who is back stateside with the First Lady, Melania Trump, through the office of the First Lady, to host a Halloween celebration for the kids, for the staff, and those local residents there in the federal city. In the meantime, we have a big show for you, including experts, guests on Right Side Broadcasting Network's live desks to break down the news of the week for you, but also these important things that are out there in society, things that this government has a lot to do with, including a shutdown brought on now week 5 under Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the New York Democrats who seem to want to stranglehold and harm the rest of society, from SNAP benefits to welfare benefits. You could have potentially 15 to 20% of America, millions of people potentially hurt from not being able to simply afford groceries nor gasoline. It's a real crisis coming up on November 1st. 13 times, in fact, these Democrats in the Senate have refused to vote on a clean CR to keep the government open, to make it remain open in order to have robust debate. It's really a travesty, and the travesty of our time to witness this. President Trump, though, on Air Force One, having a press gaggle, speaking with the White House pool before touching down at Joint Base Andrews.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. President.
I thought it was an amazing meeting. He's a great leader of a very powerful, very strong country, China. And what can I say? We have, it was an outstanding group of decisions, I think, that was made. A lot of decisions were made, too. There wasn't too much left out there. And we've come to conclusion on many very important points, and we'll be handing that to you in a little while. But, you know, we're having, because there was a lot of different things, many of them very important. We're in agreement on so many elements, large amounts, tremendous amounts of the soybeans and other farm products are going to be purchased immediately, starting immediately. If you notice, President Xi authorized yesterday for China to start, did you know that, right? China to start buying in very large quantities of soybeans and other things, which I appreciated. That was a very nice gesture. And many other things like that. On fentanyl, we agreed that he was going to work very hard to stop the flow. You know, it's a very complex subject because it's used for lots of different reasons, including anesthetics and things. But he's going to work very hard on it, precursors, and I think you're going to see some real action taken. I've agreed, as you know, I put a 20% tariff on China because of the fentanyl coming in, which is it's a big tariff. And based on his statements today, I reduced it by 10%, so it's 10% instead of 20%, effective immediately. I believe he's going to work very hard to stop the death that's coming in. But again, it's complex because of what fentanyl is, what the precursors do. So I think you're going to see a big difference. We've had discussions on many of the elements that you're talking about all the time. You're asking me questions, and most of those things were I think agreed to for the most part. I think we agreed to almost everything in a very acceptable form. I wouldn't say everything was discussed because there were things that probably, in retrospect, we could have discussed that we did for some reason didn't come up. But if you have any questions, let me know. Go ahead.
What about chips, sir? Did he agree? Did you agree to sell more downgraded
chips? We did discuss chips, and they're going to be talking to NVIDIA and others about taking chips. Look, we make great chips. NVIDIA is the leader. And I'll be speaking to Jensen from NVIDIA, but they're going to be discussing that with NVIDIA to see whether or not they can do. I said that's really between you and NVIDIA, but we're sort of the arbitrator or the referee. It's a little rough up here. These guys are a little rough.
And just to clarify, sir, that is the downgraded Blackwell chips. You would authorize those to be exported?
No, not the Blackwell. We're not talking about the Blackwell. That just came out yesterday. But a lot of chips, a lot of the chips, and that's good for us.
How soon do you think you'd be able to sign an actual?
Please, come on. You know what you do? Yeah, come on.
Okay. Let me
stand right over here.
Yeah, hey everybody, thanks. Let's make a point on the chips. As the president was saying, there's so many chips we already sent to China, a lot of advanced chips, etc. And as he said, NVIDIA will talk to China and see what's possible. The Blackwell chips, of course, were discussed. We focused on export controls of China on rare earths, and they're going to keep those flowing, which is quite important.
What are the major stumbling blocks that are left now to work through, and how soon do you think you could sign a trade deal with China?
Well, I think pretty soon. We have not too many major stumbling blocks. We have a deal. Now, every year we'll renegotiate the deal, but I think the deal will go on for a long time, long beyond the year. We'll negotiate at the end of a year, but all of the rare earth has been settled.
That's right.
And that's for the world. I mean, worldwide. It is, I guess you could really say this was a worldwide situation, not just the U.S. situation. So we continue to produce the rare earths and buy the rare earths and everything else, when you see from other countries. But China is, that whole situation, that roadblock is gone now. There's no roadblock at all on rare earth. That will hopefully disappear from our vocabulary for a little while.
So is that a 1 year pause on the policy they announced?
It's a 1 year agreement, and we'll extend it after a year.
And
like we do. It's a 1 year deal that will, I think, be very routinely extended as time goes by.
And what will your new tariff?
They're not going to impose the rare earth controls that they proposed. President Trump and President Xi came to an understanding on that point.
What will your new tariff rate on China's goods be once you sign the
Same,
deal?
other than what the tariffs remain exactly the same.
55%.
It's about it was 57, now it's 47.
And how
Because we reduced it by the fentanyl, because I believe they are really taking strong action. We've already seen the action on fentanyl, and they're taking very strong action. So we reduced to 10%.
So that November date is gone when it was going to go up again?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. So on fentanyl, they've agreed there are a variety of precursors. You may recall that actual fentanyl was scheduled by China in the president's first term successfully. There are certain precursors where they take whatever actions they need to control that. If they can control rare earths, we know they can control the precursors. And President Xi, I think, was very strong in saying he was going to enforce those laws internally. And of course, we'll watch that, and we'll work with them.
He's going to be very strong in enforcing the fentanyl, everything having to do with fentanyl and regulations internally, including taking very strong measures against those that don't obey.
And a variety of other tariffs still remain. Section 301 tariffs from the original, a variety of Section 232 tariffs. Some of these tariffs are, as the president mentioned, around 40%. For some individual products, it may go up to 100%, but as a general matter, it's about 45, 47%.
So, sir, it sounds like you might be going to China then after the successful
Yeah,
meeting.
that's another thing we agreed. I'll be going to China in April, and he'll be coming here sometime after that, whether it's in Florida, Palm Beach, or Washington, D.C.
Did you agree to anything on the shipping fees, the 301 shipping investigation?
Well, that's been
So we're going to postpone that while we negotiate with them about that issue. We're trying to rebuild shipbuilding. The Koreans just agreed to invest $150 billion in shipbuilding, so we think we have a good path forward.
but that's no longer an issue.
Did the war in Ukraine or Taiwan?
Yeah, we did. We discussed that, and we discussed basically these are rough winds in Asia. I must tell you, this is a rough flight. We could have waited an hour, maybe. These are a little tough. These are tough conditions for interviews. They're going to be watching Trump. They're going to say he didn't look too good. He's got the shakes. I don't have the shakes, but people are going to think I do.
You're pretty solid.
So Ukraine, it came up.
Yeah, it did come up. Ukraine came up very strongly. We talked about it for a long time, and we're both going to work together to see if we can get something done. We agree the sides are, locked in, fighting, and sometimes you have to let them fight. I guess crazy, but he's going to help us, and we're going to work together on Ukraine.
Russian oil.
There's not a lot more we can do.
Russian oil.
The oil, he's been buying oil from Russia for a long time. It takes care of a big part of China, and I can say India's been very good on that front, but we didn't really discuss the oil. We discussed working together to see if we could get that war finished. It doesn't affect China. It doesn't affect us. And I'd like to see it done on the basis. I don't like to see 6, 7, 8,000 young people, mostly young people, for the most part soldiers, be killed. It's not costing us anything. In fact, we make money, and I don't even want to talk about making money. I don't care about making money in that case. But, we send weapons to NATO. They buy full price. They buy the weapons. They give them to whoever, but I think they give them probably to Ukraine for the most part. And we discussed it. We discussed something. We're going to work together to try and get the war with Russia and Ukraine solved.
What about the Taiwan issue, sir?
It never came up. Taiwan never came up. Was not discussed, actually.
What else didn't come up that you thought might come up? You had mentioned you didn't get
I don't know. It just, I mean, we had a long meeting, as you know, but a lot of things we discussed in great detail. A lot of things we brought to finalization. A lot of finalization.
No surprise.
I thought it was a great meeting. I think it was a very friendly meeting. It was a good meeting for two very large, powerful countries. And that's the way we should get along with the large, powerful
Why did you write your Truth Social about nuclear testing?
About what?
About resuming nuclear testing? What prompted you to do that right before
Well, that
the
had
meeting?
nothing to do with them. It had to do with others. They seem to all be nuclear testing.
Russia?
We have more nuclear weapons than anybody. We don't do testing. We've halted it many years ago. But with others doing testing, I think it's appropriate that we do also.
Any
Did Israel-
details
did
around
Israel-
the testing, sir? Like where, when?
It'll be announced. We have test sites. It'll be announced.
Did Israel give you a heads up before they bombed Gaza? And is it still a ceasefire?
Yeah,
if they're
it's a
stopping?
ceasefire. It is. No, they had a sniper, and one of their soldiers were killed, and they did retribution. So we'll see. But yeah, it is a ceasefire. It's back to ceasefire.
What is it?
What is the thinking behind reducing troops in Romania, the drawdown of U.S. troops in Romania?
You'd have to ask. I mean, I could tell you about it, but it's not very significant. It's not a big deal.
Nuclear weapons, sir. Which countries do you have in mind when you say you want to send a signal?
Wow, what a rough ride this is. The interviews are tough enough without, without your life being threatened. You guys okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The camera guy's very steady. We're going to look real bad today on television, I'll tell you. I think that, it's pretty much, I think we've discussed mostly what we said, pretty comprehensive. We're going to issue a statement on some of the details. But overall, I guess on the scale of from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best, I would say the meeting was a 12. Okay, I think it was a 12. I think very importantly, just the whole relationship is very, very important, and I think it was really good.
Well, and especially coming on the heels of a successful trip. We're in Malaysia. You signed a peace deal for Cambodia and Thailand. Critical mineral deals with all our allies.
So many
Real
successful
trade deals,
meetings.
right? The whole
And
way.
so many meetings great for our country with
Exactly.
literally hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars have come into a country over the last 4 days, represented by this meeting. But trillions of dollars, where Toyota is going to build plants, $10 billion worth of plants. And, I could go over so many different companies coming in. They're pouring money into the United States. So beyond even this meeting, this was an unbelievable trip. And I hope you're glad you were part of it. It was big.
Did you
Sir,
Every country, Japan, I mean, you look at South Korea, Japan, and so many other countries that we met there, they're investing tremendous amounts of money in the United States, like money that we've never seen before.
Sir, are we entering?
investments from China in the U.S., additional investments?
Well, they have investments, and they will invest. And China, I think they feel very strongly. They congratulated me on the tremendous success that we've had, because there's never been a country that has had so much money come into it for purposes of investment, for building, for auto plants, for AI, etc. So he was very strong on congratulating me for that.
But he didn't commit to any additional investment.
We didn't really discuss it, but he would.
Did you ever get through to Kim Jong-un about setting up a meeting? Does he have
we
a
never
phone?
we never were able to talk because I was so busy, and really this is why we came. I think it would have been maybe disrespectful to the importance of this meeting if we did that. So I'd come back with respect to Kim Jong-un. I'd come back. It was.
What do you want to talk about with him?
I had a great relationship with Kim Jong-un. I think if I didn't get elected, you would have had. If Hillary Clinton came in at the time, he doesn't like too many people other than me. If you want to know the truth, I think you would have had a big war. Could have been a very bad war too.
Sir, with the nuclear announcement, just one more on the nuclear announcement. Do you worry that we're entering a more risky environment when it comes to nuclear issues?
No, I don't think so. I think we have it pretty well locked up. But we have more than anybody. But I see them testing. I say, well, if they're going to test, I guess we have to test. I'd like to see a denuclearization because we have so many, and Russia has some. Russia's second, and China's third, and China will catch up within 4 or 5 years. I think de-escalation would be, they would call it denuclearization, would be a tremendous thing, and it's something we are actually talking to Russia about that, and China would be added to that if we do something. Thank you all. It was a great success. It was a great honor. I mean, he's a tremendous leader of a very powerful country, and I give great respect to him, and we appreciate the fact that he came for this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anything on Canada? Anything on Canada?
No, we had a very nice conversation with him last night.
Thank
We
you,
really
sir.
did.
Thank you.
Thank you to President Trump and the team that really made a successful overseas trip. If you thought the Gulf states won months ago with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE was successful, that was this about times 10 when it comes to the peacemaker-in-chief in Malaysia with Cambodia and Thailand and all those agreements that happened throughout the Indo-Pacific, especially trading with Vietnam. Again, rare earths and minerals crucial to getting off the dependence of the Chinese Communist Party. Then to Japan to meet with the new assembled government and the prime minister who was really in the same ilk as Shinzo Abe, someone that President Trump was very, very fond of. So the military aspect of the trip, ultimately to the business aspect of the trip in South Korea, and ultimately to meet with President Xi of China. Largely successful. The president deserves some R&R and can have that tonight as he celebrates the First Lady, this Halloween celebration for the kids and the families. It's all about family. It's all about country. And we'll see that tonight. So stay tuned for that in roughly a couple of hours as we thank Kalshi.com/RSBN. This is a great group to trade and bet on the most crucial things happening in America and abroad. Will the Bitcoin hit 150,000 before March, February, or January? It's all going up very fast. Will Andrew Cuomo, the Democrat turned independent former governor of the Empire State, become the mayor of the Big Apple? Or will the Communist Democrat nominee, Zoran Mamdani, be successful in this? Hey, how about Curtis Sliwa? He's endorsed by America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, back-to-back Republican nominations. We'll watch all of that. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Plus, Game 6 of the World Series. That is tomorrow evening, I believe, on Halloween. 3-2. The Blue Jays are up right now, so we'll watch that closely. The other day was the longest game in World Series history. Roughly 7 hours, about 6:49, if I'm not mistaken, with 18 innings, leading to a solo home run where the Dodgers put it on the board for a 2-1 victory, but a close series to watch there. You can bet and trade on all of those questions, sports, music, culture, and much more. It's politics as well at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Thank you to AngelPaste.com, the miracle that is the vitamin B miracle cream that's changing the ball game. It is non-GMO, no chemicals, and this time of year, you might want that orange option in addition to the miracle cream that you can use every day. And you've seen me use it right here at the network. I still use it today to keep my skin as glowing as possible, whether it is that first date or the 50th wedding anniversary. AngelPaste.com will assist you with the non-GMO and non-chemicals that are very good to have with you, and that facial spray also quite good to have as you paint the town red. They're based out of Spring, Texas, Christian-owned. They hire veterans, and they are just good all-around people. So check out their products today. The miracle that is AngelPaste.com. As we get to the bottom of the 3:30 mark on the East Coast, it's 12:30 on the West Coast. Thank you for joining us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. I'm Robert McNeely. As we look forward to President Trump and the First Lady, Melania Trump, coming together at the White House for a celebration, all for the kids. And the last time they did this, it was rather fun. Some great music provided by the United States military and the professionals there with the Halloween themes. And it could be ghouls and goblins, but a lot of times you have those adorable kids who are looking to become firefighters or police officers or to serve their community. And what a moment to get to meet their commander-in-chief, their president, and their first lady in what's sure to be a star-studded event. And think about this. I mean, regardless of age or generation, would you want to take a 14-hour trip back home? And I know Air Force One is nice. It's quite a flying fortress of the sky and comfortable for the president, no doubt. But wouldn't you want to go back to the Oval Office or perhaps up to the residence? No, this man's going to spend time with the American people right after just landing roughly an hour or so ago. And we have playback footage of that for you now.
Mr. President, are you going to negotiate with Democrats to end the shutdown, sir?
Welcome back to the United States of America. Welcome home, President Trump. Well done to the entire team, from Secretary Rubio to Secretary Bessent, Ambassador Greer, Ambassador Monica Crowley, the Chief Protocol Director. She was the one seemingly as the maitre d' in the restaurant, just escorting everyone through the protocol and doing truly an amazing job on this trip to Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea. An exciting few days. Also, the superstar Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt there with President Trump on hand, and Howard Lutnick with Commerce doing amazing work on behalf of this government and for the American people. Well done all around. As we have a very special treat for you right now, gearing up for the Halloween celebration, you might think about portfolio management and savings and retirement, how to keep that all abreast of a gold and silver bull market that's happening right now. We have Scott Cheney. He's a senior portfolio manager at Monetary Gold to really break down how to approach all of this and to make sure you are financially secure in 2025. Welcome to RSBN Live, a real treat. It's Scott Cheney. He is the portfolio manager over at Monetary Gold to help us dive into just what's going on and what we're hearing with this economy right now. A big trip for President Trump in the Indo-Pacific and with these Asian countries. Really the businessman, the military partner, also an individual making peace. So what does that mean, Scott, for gold and silver markets, specifically within the United States?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Robert, first and foremost, for having me here. It's a pleasure being on your show. Really, we're concerned, not only us, but I'm on the phones every day with regular American people, hardworking American people. And they have some concerns. Obviously, recession, a dollar devaluation, the buying power compared to what it was 5 years ago to today, concerns with the stock market. Americans really are afraid of losing their retirement. And what they're doing is they're really using gold and silver as a safe haven asset to protect what they have in the bank or in an IRA or in a 401k.
Yes, and is that really a cause of concern given that we now have a weakened American dollar, and even President Trump says that really it's good to have that 1% to 2% inflation. You don't want zero, but we know that some things in regards to the Fed and decisions there, especially with the monetary value of the dollar and the BRICS nations, especially on an international level. How does that affect investors and people trying to get ahead in the market?
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to make this clear that I voted for Donald Trump twice. Okay. And when he came, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and there's many other countries added to this. We are very concerned right now on what they want to do is step away from the US dollar. And if other countries right now are added and they do step away from the US dollar, there's about 128 countries that are obviously getting in line with this. It weakens the US dollar and it also weakens our economy. So people are watching this and they're concerned. And this safe haven asset, you see gold and silver right now, completely on the rise. Gold a week ago, hit $4,000. We're never concerned when gold pulls back or when silver pulls back. Really right now is a great time to buy and it's a great time to get protected. So those things that are going on when you're looking at our debt, the United States, our debt really just took a $38 trillion hit. $38 trillion we're $38 trillion in debt. Now, that is unsustainable. That means, I read this, in 71 days, we are adding $1 trillion to our debt. And to put that really into perspective, 2,000 years ago, my Savior, Jesus Christ, was born. If someone spent $1 million every single day up until today, that still wouldn't add up to $1 trillion. We're doing this every 71 days right now. So that's unsustainable for any country. And that's our concern right now. And gold and silver really is to protect what you have. I'm just a regular American like the hardworking people here. You know, I would be fearful for my grandparents. I'd be fearful for my friends. I don't feel comfortable putting money into the bank. And not only that, we've lost 2 banks this year. One in Chicago, Illinois, and the other in Texas. So there are concerns right now that banks are foreclosing.
No question, a national security issue at the forefront. Do you believe, Scott, that a recession could hit in a powerful way over the course of the next few years if the American economy stays at this rate of not only dealing with inflation of the past, but again, $38 trillion of debt. And that roughly breaks down to at least 120,000, if not more, of the debt per American citizen. So even those who are baby, so let's just say 6 months old to 18 years old, who really aren't in control of their own assets, nor are they in the world on their own yet, still responsible for that debt.
Wow. Yeah, Robert, when you put it that way, it's a concern not just for us today, but for our children's children. What's the future going to look like for America? And the problem is as a world right now, we're on the brink of a world war. I mean, this is a concern, not only in America, but around the world. People are looking at this, and it's almost like everyone's tiptoeing on eggshells right now. I am first and foremost, a Christian and a believer in Jesus Christ. So he goes before everything in my life. But I also want to do good by the American people. I believe in gold and silver. We're concerned with an economy crash. This is a real thing. A couple of years ago, we would say, oh, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. Gold has hit $4,000. When the dollar gets weaker, gold and silver get stronger. In 2008, gold doubled and silver tripled. And wow. And we do not see it slowing down today.
And amen to that, Scott, with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ mentioning, render unto Caesar what is Caesar. So in other words, if it's his tax, my kingdom is not of this world. So pay that tax. But also biblically speaking, to your point, the stewardship of not only the assets we're blessed with, but that we come into contact with. And that's why it truly is biblical to keep out of debt as a result. So it's something that really every Bible-believing Christian and even those who do not believe should be concerned about right here in the United States.
Couldn't agree more. The Bible is very clear on preparation and making sure that we're preparing to be a light on a hill stand. And preparation is key, not just for Christians, but for families, for our country. I have my grandfather served for this country. He was a colonel in the Marine Corps. My uncle, a retired colonel in the Marine Corps. I come from a conservative background and a military family. I was a college wrestler, and I'm happy to work for the company where I am today. And we really help and provide people with an understanding of why gold and silver is important and really the process of how it works. Do you have money sitting in the bank? Do you have it in the 401k? If so, give us a call. We'll review your portfolio and we'll go over the different asset classes that specifically help your needs. We'll put you into those right assets. Our main objective is we want to protect what we have and we want to see it grow. And that's what I will do for you here at Monetary Gold.
Well, thank you. And your expertise as a senior portfolio manager will help people, as Monetary Gold truly is the best in the business. Now, Scott, the buying power today compared to 5 years ago, how has that intersected or changed over the course of just the last 5 to 10 years?
So the buying power in 2015, 10 years, lost roughly 25 to 30% of its purchasing power from today. The dollar isn't what it is. I mean, it's very simple. We won't be able to convince anyone to buy gold and silver. You just look at what's going on around the world right now. Central banks, they are buying gold and silver around the world at the fastest rate in 58 years. I want to go where the smart money's going. And that's what they're doing right now. They are buying gold at a very rapid rate.
Very interesting to watch all that as, again, those BRICS nations, as we spoke to earlier, really divesting from the American dollar on the global stage. And Americans, they're truly afraid of losing their retirement. We're also living longer. So how do gold and silver actually help with not only building generational wealth, but if you're like me in the millennial generation, some of us have not even been able to purchase that first or second property. And we know that if you buy and flip homes or other private properties, you have a chance at bringing in some of that incremental and extra wealth. But it's been, some trouble for millennials and Gen Zers out there. So how would you advise those who are looking to build that generational wealth, but also who might be trying to purchase that first or second property?
Right. So I would say this, not everyone that reaches out to us should be a customer of ours. And they're typically not a customer. If we have no problem telling people that gold and silver is not the best option for you. We want to make sure that we could help people. And the truth is, we see a storm coming. We want to help navigate people through that storm. Now, typically, they have savings set aside, money that they're not living on. Those are the people to where they should add gold and silver to their portfolio. What I tell our customers is, it is an absolute privilege to be in precious metals right now. God made gold, right? You can't reprint gold like you can the US dollar. So it is a privilege to be in it. We want to make sure that you have money set aside for gold and silver. So as far as if you're living on your funds on a day-to-day basis, we would not recommend that. But if there was an economy crash or a market crash, and you don't have gold and silver and the dollar does crash, you could lose all of your savings that you've worked so hard for. And that's really what we want to do. We want to help you sleep better at night.
Well, with credit card debt skyrocketing, it seems like the big banks really own many people in the United States right now with all these high interest rates as well. But where can they find this presidential gold guide that really details everything? It's complimentary, by the way, from Monetary Gold on a personalized plan for each and every person. RSBNforthegold.com, I believe, is the site for you.
That is correct. And feel free to reach out to us directly. We'll send you a free guide. But more importantly, we want to see what you have in your portfolio and make sure that we could protect it with gold and silver. So one, a gold guide, it really is just marketing material. What we'd like to do is understand what you have, how you're set up, and how we could help protect your finances and your funds.
Well, Scott Chenet, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a real pleasure to be with you here at RSBN Live. You are the Senior Portfolio Manager at Monetary Gold. Again, RSBNforthegold.com. Scott Chenet, please come and see us again very soon. Always nice to have a fellow Midwesterner on for common sense, especially when approaching what could be, a scary market at times, but big opportunities as gold and silver experiencing a bull market right now.
Absolutely. Robert, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me come on. I will state this too. We would actually like to, we've had so much success with Mark Levin and the offers that we've had that we actually want to extend this offer to your listeners today. That if you do have an IRA and it does qualify, starting today into precious metals, if you sign up, we will actually cover your storage fee at no cost to the customer.
Oh, fantastic.
So,
well, thank you for that gift.
We're looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to working with some of the listeners that you have. I appreciate it, Robert. God bless you.
Oh, God bless you, sir. Some breaking news here. Thank you to Monetary Gold once again. RSBNforthegold.com. It's Scott Chenet from Monetary Gold, the Senior Portfolio Manager. Please come again on the show very soon. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Our phones are ringing right now.
I love it. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Robert. Take care.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So important as we conclude October 30th and 31st, the Halloween celebration. Also important to look at this time of year with many families searching for clarity, for hope, for options worth learning more about. And that's mebendazole for breast cancer awareness, and also using this antiparasitic used as off-label care for breast cancer support and research. More people today are exploring the repurposed medications like mebendazole, and now going for 40% off for the next 33 hours or so. A time to really jump on this if it's something that is been in your family. Many people know breast cancer survivors. It's been that big C word that is a really terrible thing that's become part of American life. But fear not with the right to try. Fear not with most favored nations status. 40% off now of mebendazole and its potential cancer support in ongoing research. Now, All Family Pharmacy believes you deserve that right to try ultimately for you, for your loved ones, and for what matters most. They make the process simple. A licensed doctor reviews with a prescription your medication, and it is shipped directly. No insurance, no red tape, no bureaucracy. Just life-saving medications to your doorstep for this final week of October. Over the course of the rest of today and tomorrow, Halloween, they are offering 40% off of mebendazole, and this does end, yes, tomorrow, October 31st. The discount is automatically applied when visiting allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So go ahead now, scan that QR code, 40% off of mebendazole at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, a proud partner of ours here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, and covepure.com/RSBN. Speak of gut health, speaking of putting yourself on the right path. Do you remember Flint, Michigan and the lead pipes, the infrastructure collapse of Democrat-run cities, these big blue cities? You really need a reverse osmosis system, even if you're in the country, because these things can lead to lead poisoning, to liver damage, brain cancer, and other ailments. But at covepure.com/RSBN, this is following suit and really getting ahead of even where the Health and Human Services has been. Secretary Kennedy devoting his entire professional life, his legal service for clean air and clean water. It's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue, but it's all about giving your family life-saving, good, pure H2O. JAMA Pediatrics doing a study with their scientists and their pediatricians that children and students that drink out of the tap on a regular basis can lose up to 2 points or more in their IQ. How frightening is that? And with all of the COVID learning loss, you cannot afford any more. So covepure.com/RSBN, protecting what matters most. Get $200 off right now of this leader in Clearwave technology, removing 99.9% of the fluoride, pesticides, agricultural runoff, even hormone blockers like birth control when the water treatment plants do not get all of the pollutants out of the water. So follow suit. This is the best to have. And look at that machine. It's not bigger than your coffee maker that's probably right on there on your kitchen counter. In Utah and Florida, this is such an important issue. They actually introduced legislation to remove the pollutants from the water. Again, fluoride, pesticides, agricultural runoff, and the stuff that the water treatment centers do miss. Drink pure, live pure, covepure.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code there. Now $200 off. President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump, to enjoy a Halloween celebration at 5:30 Eastern. Stay tuned for that. We have a jam-packed show for you reviewing President Trump's trip to the Indo-Pacific, in addition to subject matter experts and, in fact, one of our favorites, Ashley Brassfield of the Daily Caller. We spoke to her this week regarding a couple of new developments happening in the federal city. Welcome back to RSBN's Live Desk. It's Ashley Brassfield, the Daily Caller, our eyes and ears in Washington, D.C. So much happening on Capitol Hill outside of the shutdown. And Chairman Comer has been busy, as you've been reporting, Ashley. The House Judiciary Committee said Tuesday that the FBI's investigation into this Arctic frost has uncovered potential targeting of more than 150 Republican officials and allies. I've been saying it for a couple of years now. If Watergate bothered you, this should really bother you.
Yeah, it's super bothersome. And that's actually not James Comer, that's Oversight Committee. Judiciary is Jim Jordan, actually. So Jim Jordan came out stating that, there's been over 150 individuals that were surveyed during, the years of the Biden administration under Jack Smith during this Arctic frost. And you saw this kind of explode during one of the Senate Judiciary hearings. And now we just have names rolling out. People like Dan Scavino under the last administration. I saw names like Stephen Miller, which you can find in the report. So many others. It's really countless. People like Hope Hicks that were comms directors in the last administration even appeared on it. And it's really something that most of these FBI offices across the United States were concerning themselves with this.
Now, how deep does it go? Is this actual intelligence and spying on these individuals, or just monitoring their whereabouts or their online activity to try to, I guess, get dirt on them?
So I'm not too sure about how in-depth that portion goes, but what we saw in this document that was dumped that happened yesterday was emails being exchanged. And if you read some of them, even people like the president, the founder, I believe, of CPI was being seen as somebody who had affiliations to Russia. It really read as if they were like Reddit posts, Bobby. It was very strange. And they're all within this email format. And that's part of the documents, as well as listed these names, like I said, 45 people, another hundreds of names that were a part of this, Trump administration. It's very biased. And you can tell that from the lists that were obtained in these documents that were released yesterday. So I don't know all the details specifically, to be honest, about what the intelligence aspect of this goes. But I mean, this is the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States looking into people, not just senators. You saw Lindsey Graham up in arms about this being surveilled during many of these operations by the FBI over these years. And, if this is having a political, people in the Trump administration, can you imagine what's happening to the American people?
Well, exactly. And with Russia, we know that John Brennan, very likely in the Obama administration, and who knows how far it goes, colluding with the Hillary Clinton campaign to spy on the Trump Tower during the 2016 campaign. Then let's reverse it back to your point, Ashley. What about the American Patriot Act? How many Americans were surveilled against their constitutional rights in the days, weeks, and even years after September 11th? But this seems to point back to Jack Smith. Do you believe he'll be potentially subpoenaed or have to come under oath before Congress to explain just what he was up to? It seems as if lawfare to, quote unquote, get Trump.
Yeah, well, I believe the House Judiciary is already ahead of us. I think they have actually subpoenaed Jack Smith, is my understanding. I believe I could be wrong on that, so double check me. But I do think that is he does need to come before Congress and answer some questions because you're looking at the integrity of the FBI here. That's at stake. What happened during those years, the weaponization of it, and how do we come back to that where people can trust bureaucratic institutions if they can at all at this point. So correcting that, having somebody come forth to see what these email exchanges that we're seeing in these documents, question those about those are just alone, at least is how I feel.
And it leads to further questions of who was really in charge during the AutoPen administration. As it's been revealed, certain individuals getting paid, Ron Klein's circles of people who were really leading the charge, while it seems as if President Joe Biden was asleep at the wheel. And we know House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking to it this week during the government shutdown that the former president did not remember deals and executive orders signed specifically on natural gas and oil and energy that actually harmed the United States and led to Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline that really was energy dominant over Eastern Europe, Germany, Belgium specifically. And then in turn, you can argue, gave Vladimir Putin the gas or the engine, not to be coy, to go in and ultimately invade Ukraine. So something to watch there as it's four-dimensional chess. Now, you're also working on this case going on with the Biden doctor and allegedly his license for covering up the presidential decline. Can you detail some more of that for us?
Right. Well, this is an oversight committee. So back to James Comer now. They did this large investigation, bringing in Biden aides, people in the Biden administration, big names like Kevin O'Connor, like you just said, this is the Biden doctor. A lot of questions surrounding that, which they actually wrote a letter to the District of Columbia Board of Medicine, to the director, stating that they need to do their own internal investigation into this. Of course, he pled the fifth, invoked his Fifth Amendment right during that deposition before the House Oversight Committee. So I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. This I heard personally from Congressman Ronnie Jackson. I talked about this on here before. The proximity that this doctor had to the Bidens over an extended period of time. He was a friend, pretty much an accepted family member. So a lot of questions still remaining there. They conducted this over 100-page report, though, the Oversight Committee did, compiling all these, depositions from high people like Mike Donnellan, who apparently took $4 million by, going on the campaign and working on the campaign for Joe Biden and was basically going to be able to accept another $4 million if Joe Biden was elected president. So you're looking at this profiteering that's happening off of, campaigns for Joe Biden, the cover up possibly that could have happened. And then, of course, I think many of us have kind of accepted this idea that, the AutoPen was extensively used during this administration. And they referred many of these aides to the Department of Justice. Pam Bondi actually put out an X post about this yesterday, saying they were willing to look into it, taking everything that was, brought it to light in the probe from the Oversight Committee themselves. So I think we might see more from this. There's these details. It's a huge, I would say cover up. And I think the administration is right to ask questions, as well as the Oversight Committee and the DOJ to at least look into this, because we see the decline of former President Biden's health over this time period. And I think there's a lot of questions that the American people still even have on it.
Well, it's very disturbing. Even I have a question that where was the former first lady in all this, Dr. Jill Biden? Because clearly you see this cognitive decline happening with your spouse. Why put someone through that and continue to parade him around in that process? It's really shocking. But as Chairman Comer cited in the committee's report, the Biden AutoPen presidency declined deception in the White House, basically outlining the findings from the investigation into the mental decline and this growing dependence on the AutoPen. This is on 14 depositions and interviews, and it all seems as if now people are throwing others under the bus in order to perhaps avoid jail time.
Yeah, and this interesting thing about, this document they've put together over 100 pages, they even have video clips of some of the depositions. These were all private depositions. Media was not allowed in them. But some of these clips are being released. So you're getting a compilation of what it was like in the room now. So a little bit more transparency there as far as that goes. Of course, we've been reporting on pretty much every one of the depositions leading up to that point. But I mean, a lot of this obviously has been overshadowed a little bit by the Epstein probe. That's oversight also has been handling. But I think this is something that, even Senate Judiciary looked at, the transparency, looking into the auto pen, the usage of it, the constitutionality, even factors, having people come in and talk on that. But I think is just reflective as a narrative what the Biden administration really was. And, you see the long walkway of pictures at the White House now, and having the auto pen in place of Joe Biden's face on that wall, I think really is like just I would say a great example of what the American people, I feel, think about that administration in general and what led up to the win in 2024.
Yeah, there's truly truth in comedy, and we're seeing it now as the former White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, becoming an independent, leaving the Democrat Party, and allegedly, as you shared in your article, security concerns over, or according to this specific letter. So we'll watch all of this. What do you think is going to happen with this doctor here, Dr. O'Connor, as a result of everything that's being exposed?
Well, this is the District of Columbia Medical Board, so I don't know how high of hopes I have in looking at an investigation. That's up for them to decide. But, I think there is this idea that the American people would like to have transparency in the health of the president of the United States that's leading our country. So I think there is this distinguishing factor that, he could lose his medical license or, basically face consequences due to this, but it's really up to them to decide. And I think you have to look at the person in charge if they're willing to look into that and hold them accountable. So, I think a lot of people would hope that an investigation would take place, because even if it were a normal patient and not just the president of the United States, this would be, considered, I would think, great malpractice if you were not able to see things like prostate cancer, regular checkups that would need to take place. So even for the highest standard being the president of the United States.
And this is in addition to that potential malpractice, Ashley, where this individual was allegedly exposing himself. And I always ask to Democrat friends, just what the heck happened to Me Too? I thought they were very interested in promoting that and protecting people in the workplace, but there seems to be a pattern of behavior ever since the late 90s and the former president, Bill Clinton. But again, you're innocent before being proven guilty here. And we know how things go in Washington, D.C. Sometimes just a slap on the wrist, whether it's an R or a D next to your name. But we'll watch this closely as we're in 5 weeks of a government shutdown. Do you see any leverage are there any moderate Democrats left in the United States Senate who will simply reopen this, as we're looking at a November 1st date, which can be very frightening for those on welfare benefits to SNAP programs? Goodness gracious, even with the former president, Bill Clinton, I saw a campaign ad from 1992 the other day talking about reforming welfare as we know it. So lots has changed in the course of a few years.
Right. Well, it really comes down to leverage, I think, at this point. But you did see, Senator Thune come to the podium and say he's been talking to other Democrats other than Chuck Schumer at this point, going behind closed doors to talk about them. And they've expressed discontent. You see even John Fetterman being very public about this, feeling willing to work together to get the government back open. I think unlike many times, I think a lot of the blame has gone on Republicans for a government shutdown. In this case, Democrats are now facing that reality in a lot of ways. But I do think there is this stalemate still happening PR wise. It has to start affecting the American people eventually. That time is coming. Will that be the turning point? That's the question. I heard going into the middle of October that this is going to go into November, and it's starting to look more like that as the dates approach, obviously. So I don't think anybody has a date. And I think, the reasoning as to why it's still shut down is still unclear from the Democrat side. I think they're not giving a lot of good reasons. They're not going to the negotiating table. So, here we are, we have a peace deal in Israel and we don't have the government open in our country. So I think there's going to be questions from the American people. I think there is still this essence of they don't really know a government shutdown's happening, except for maybe the not paying the troops aspect. But when that starts happening, I think you're going to see that ramp up very quickly.
Ashley Brassfield, she's our eyes and ears in Washington, D.C., the Capitol Hill reporter for the Daily Caller. Thanks for your insight today, and we'll see you again soon on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you.
And as we prepare to celebrate Halloween with President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, we are joined by the latest congressional candidate from Wisconsin's 7th District, all of 25 years of age. That's when you can first qualify to be in the United States House of Representatives. It is Michael Alfonso. Thank you for joining us from where it is an absolute gorgeous time of year in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It really is the best time. I always love the fall. Reminds me of when I used to play football. So a lot of fun.
Yes, tell us what inspired you to jump in this race, because you have a lot of agricultural issues in northern Wisconsin, lots of industry, but it's really the heart of the middle class and really the heartbeat of America.
Yeah, well, and simply put, I'm running to keep the American dream alive. I've seen how it's shrunk under the Biden administration. We had rampant inflation. That hurts everybody. That hurts farmers. That hurts people on fixed income. That hurts young people. No one can afford a home. I really want to be running so that we can bring real prosperity back to the North Woods, so families can plant their roots here and kids can come back home and live by their families, which is the way God intended it.
Now, how do you think President Trump's trip, just getting back stateside from the Indo-Pacific tour with the ASEAN conference to APEC, and then meeting, of course, in Malaysia to Japan, ultimately South Korea, with countless governments, will affect global trade? And how will tariffs affect the good constituents of Wisconsin's 7th District?
Well, like you said, I'm only 25, and just in my lifetime, I've seen the globalization of the economy. We're offshoring production, we're offshoring manufacturing, and then when you have times of COVID, the horrible, horrible disaster, you can't get anything back home. If you don't produce something in the United States, you're not going to be a country for very long. And I couldn't be happier with Trump and his tariff plans, because it's bringing real prosperity back to small rural places like the North Woods of Wisconsin.
Yes, and tell us about those family ties you have there in northern Wisconsin, because there seem to be two lanes of thought, whether going down a capitalist free market route of believing in those dinner table issues or socialism. And as we could see come Tuesday, we might just have that in a communist Democrat nominee of New York City who wants to socialize farmers markets, something you see right up there in northern Wisconsin, and some of the best produce that you can get from farmers anywhere in the world.
Well, my grandparents actually fled a communist country in the 1950s. They fled Cuba. They came to America, and America delivered for them. I don't know that we can say the same for the younger generation right now. Everything is expensive. And when young people can't achieve success the good old fashioned hard work way, they turn to the lies of socialism. And like you said, there's a immigrant Muslim mayor running in New York, and he's probably going to win. My grandfather is turning over in his grave right now, thinking that the financial capital of the entire world may be run by a full-blown communist.
Yeah, it's a scary sight to see, no question about that, especially with those Islamist ties, and then also stating the fact that, which we found later to not be true, in fact false, that his aunt apparently was allegedly discriminated against in New York City, but was not wearing that hijab. But I guess that's another story for another time. But you see this double standard on the other side. Michael, how were you able to really step out? Because Gen Z is clearly Gen free, but at the same time, I feel like you guys have really taken on a lot, whether it's the cost of living across the country to the college campuses, and what we saw recently with this revival, thanks to Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. But it's not necessarily an easy go of it as you're making yourself or your way out in the world.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but I would say that, despite what some people may think, Gen Z is actually an extremely battle-tested generation. We were born during the Patriot Act. We were young during the '08 crash. We lived during COVID. We had so many horrible, horrible things happen just while we were alive, BLM on college campuses. We're battle tested. We're not walking into this with, we think we're conservative. No, every single one of our beliefs is really challenged from the day we were born. And we're ready to, despite all the problems, while we see what they are, we have a very good idea on how to fix them.
Yes, and I can really see a difference actually, and it's something I don't necessarily like, the idea of generalized or generational warfare, if you will. But I see, as a millennial, I really actually admire a lot of the Gen Zers, because with everything that was thrown at you, there was this sense of not a victim mentality, and perhaps because great organizations in place like a Turning Point USA, great voices out there that said, you know what, get over it, as the Eagles would say, and Don Henley, and just go after it. And we could clearly see that with your congressional race. Now, also with your in-laws, you're following in quite the footsteps of Secretary Sean Duffy, who is your father-in-law. Any good advice he's given on the campaign trail thus far? I mean, you're only 24 hours into this.
Yeah, well, Sean's an amazing guy, and he's been very supportive throughout the process. You couldn't ask for a better father-in-law, and Rachel is really impressive as well. I mean, she's always helped with anything we could ever need, and I feel blessed to have married into a family like them, because not just what you could say accolades, this or that, but what really makes them difference is the Catholic values. They help me stay stronger in my faith, and it's very apparent if you ever meet their kids.
Yes, very Main Street values that can really inspire, I think, all Americans of all different backgrounds. And I had a pleasure of actually meeting your father and mother-in-law back during a Young Americans for Freedom event, and they were touching on really grabbing a hold of the culture. And that was the big difference in 2012 with Mitt Romney versus 2016 with Donald Trump, because we saw the president as a private citizen actually commenting back when it was Twitter on countless different items within the New York social scenes to Hollywood and just about everything in between during his height of The Apprentice. How can that methodology really help with a campaign like yours in Wisconsin 7th?
Well, like you mentioned, it really is about old-fashioned values. That's what makes Gen Z so interesting, is we're not prescribing some radical new idea that no one's heard of. No, we're prescribing what people used to do in the 1950s and just call normal. Get married young, start having a family, be fiscally responsible. It's not complicated stuff. It's what works, and that's what we're prescribing we go back to.
Yes, and you have quite a race coming up on the Republican primary, also the Democrat side, but a rather right of center place, I would say. I get to drive through there, as we were speaking off camera. That Family Lake House is up there in the North Woods, one of my favorite places, especially this time of year with a gorgeous change in seasons. How do you look at the upcoming year in 2026? Is there a game plan right now? And where can people follow and help you out in this great cause with saving the country?
Well, alfonsoforwisconsin.com, that's our campaign website. We have all of our issues, and we'll be coming out with endorsements soon. That's the homepage. But I really think that if Wisconsin is such an amazing place, and I would just love to represent it the way that it deserves to be represented. So when it comes to what kind of campaign are we going to run, we're going to lean into youth. I worked construction growing up all the way through college. I graduated debt-free because of it. And I'm going to bring that type of energy, hard work, and I'm going to represent the district the same way I'm going to campaign for it. We're going to go to all 26 counties in very short order, and then we're going to go back, and then we're going to go back again. We're going to be everywhere all at once, and we're going to meet everyone. That's the goal.
Michael, I'm really glad you brought that up, because being a Midwesterner myself, I was always interested in, just being a few years ahead of you, how much it was pitched to me that, oh, no, don't do the apprenticeship, but rather go to that 4-year college and university. And although I understand you're a Badger, and those Badgers are tough at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, one of my favorite campuses, I am a Fighting Illini of Champaign-Urbana, just south of the border there. Two campuses not terribly far from one another. But I just remember these people in high school telling me, well, you just have to go do that. I'm glad I did that. But what about these apprenticeships and these programs, as the Department of Education really is giving power back to the states? Do you see that being funded in different ways at a federalist level or state by state? Or how can people be encouraged, like you were, to go out there and work with their hands, not only their mind, in order to make a good living?
Well, from what I've seen, if you just come to a construction site and you have a good head on your shoulders, people will encourage you. I didn't know anything about how to pave roads, how to finish concrete. I showed up, they taught me how to do it. As long as you have a hard work ethic, you can do it. And when it comes to encouraging kids to go to possibly trade schools or apprenticeships, you know, as as everyone goes to school as to college and the expenses keep going up and up and up, the value of the degree goes down and down and down. So I think, and a lot of my friends have done that. Some of the most successful ones are the ones that went and got CDLs or became plumbers. So I think, as time goes on, you'll see much more of the younger generation just going out and working with their hands because it ends up being way more valuable in the end.
Michael Alfonso, candidate for Congress in Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District, truly one of the most gorgeous places and some of the best people you'll find in all of America. Please come again and see us soon on the right side of history.
Thank you so much for having me.
And as we get ready for a Halloween celebration unlike any other with President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump, in roughly an hour 15 from now, breaking news from the office of the First Lady. The Republic of Korea has joined First Lady Melania Trump's Fostering the Future Together. This initiative has joined the Republic of Korea, the South Koreans, and the First Lady's office, Fostering the Future Together initiative in a new technology prosperity deal with the United States. This just came across the channels from the White House. The agreement, the first of its kind as part of Mrs. Trump's new global coalition, highlighting a shared commitment by first spouses of heads of government to go into the world empowering children through promotion of technology, innovation, and education in an ever-changing economy. As we break that down for you, those economic woes might be hitting you at home. One of the best ways to secure your financial future, it's monetary gold for wealth preservation security. Call today. Do not delay. 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate your IRA fees permanently for life. RSBN for thegold.com. That's where you go as banks have failed this year alone, and we don't need any more of that. But the storm building beneath the dollar exists worldwide, with the BRICS nations trying to divest from the dollar as the world's standard currency. Now, for years, the signs have been clear, but most Americans simply ignored them. Now, the storm beneath the dollar is impossible to miss. Since January 20th, gold has broken through at $4,000 an ounce. Silver past 50, and that's not luck. It's simple logic. It's math. It's Economics 101. When governments spend beyond their means, when every crisis hits and the banks buy up all the gold and silver as it's going on right now, every crisis met with yet another $1 trillion printout as a result. That's how the feds try to scale their inflationary bondage. We don't need any more of that. The value of money must fall as a result. So history proves it. Every time a currency weakens, gold and silver rises to reveal the truth. These metals have stood the test of time, 5,000 years, in fact. RSBN for thegold.com for your complimentary presidential gold guide. Call today. Do not delay. A great move right there at RSBN for thegold.com. Also, Perplexity, one of a fantastic new technologies, a web AI browser for you known as Comet. Browse the speed of thought with Comet. Get started at pplx.ai/RSBN. You can unlock 1 month free of Rumble Premium. So Comet, again, browsing at the speed of thought. Think about this as a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer through the camera quite yet, unless you want to write back at feedback@rsbn.tv. But how much time do you waste online researching, to booking, to managing, sending it out into the stratosphere so that meeting can happen in a week as you prep for that AI technology conference you might be speaking at? But your business partners on the West Coast, you're on the East Coast. There's 3 hours in between you. You have family obligations. Heck, you even got to get to your kid's football game, and there's just too much happening. Besides the PTA meetings, et cetera, et cetera. Why not have this personal assistant literally as the AI-powered web browser right there for you? They can book, search, research, and find the best restaurants, the best locations, get it all done for you, set it up, and then send that notification over to the rest of the company. I've been trying Comet. It's really fantastic. It makes my life simpler. Unlock 1 month free of Rumble Premium at Perplexity's Comet, pplx.ai/RSBN. So much happening this week as it is a news cycle that seemingly never stops on a gorgeous evening now in Washington, D.C. And those colors somewhat changing here in eastern Alabama, not quite as exquisite yet as it is in the nation's capital, roughly 10.5 hours northeast of here by car. Not too shabby, though, if you fly from Hartsfield-Jackson into Reagan International, as we often do for Washington, D.C. events, as President Trump is back on the ground with First Lady Melania Trump, her office hosting the annual Halloween celebration, and it's sure to be a star-studded event of ghouls and goblins, perhaps some firemen and police officers, maybe ballerinas, and even a Tinkerbell or two, as we look forward to seeing America's future enjoy a celebration that leaves smiles on countless faces of family members and friends. As we look now, 4:20 Eastern, it's 1:20 on the West Coast. Where are you watching from on this Halloween Eve? I think we could call it that, as we get ready to celebrate Hallows Eve, and ultimately later tonight, the Voice of Reason as well. So lots of Halloween specials to celebrate on this Thursday, October 30th, 2025. We recently spoke with the great All Family Pharmacy, which 40% off of mebendazole happening right now. My dear colleague, Matthew Alvarez, speaking with the leadership there at All Family Pharmacy about these life-saving medications that are truly not a luxury, but it's about the right to try, the right to have most favored nation status. So it's not just the government, but private companies like this online pharmacy that's watching out for you. No red tape, no bureaucracy, simply a pharmaceutical note and doctors that care about you. And through tomorrow, 40% off of mebendazole at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's catch last week's interview with All Family Pharmacy.
This is the owner of All Family Pharmacy, Michael Kunzler. Thanks so much for joining us on the network.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Definitely. You know, a lot of times we talk about All Family Pharmacy, but being able to talk to the people that run the business is always good, because every time you've been on, it's really breaking down the information for people. And it makes it easy. You know, it's easy to get things like ivermectin or mebendazole through you guys, right?
Yeah, well, we try to make it as easy possible because these things can be very difficult. Most pharmacies or doctors don't even want to touch it. So
exactly. And that's what's great about All Family Pharmacy. And speaking of independent, like we are independent media, you're independent pharmacy. A lot of people are saying that's the way we want to go. We don't want that mainstream thing anymore. So the question I have is, what inspired All Family Pharmacy to launch a breast cancer sale featuring mebendazole, and how does it empower patients to take control of their health choices?
We decided to do this sale, obviously, because October, as we know, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We've developed this great relationship with Dr. William Mackis, who's been a big believer in ivermectin and mebendazole supporting the fight during cancer. And he's seen great results with his almost 7,000 patient base. And we've seen some results on our end, whether it's with Dr. Mackis's patients or patients who come to us without Dr. Mackis's protocol. So, you know, we believe that everybody should have the right to try these medications if they want to go that route. If a healthcare practitioner or a doctor deems it necessary through a prescription, we believe that they have that ability to try it. Now, most oncologists probably won't like it due to different reasonings. But the one thing we did notice is with the oncologist world is those with breast cancer, most of them got the okay, not most of them, but a good amount of them got the okay to utilize these drugs off label for breast cancer. These were breast cancer patients. So we've seen it more susceptible for breast cancer patients over prostate and pancreatic and all the different types of cancer. So we're more geared towards mebendazole specifically and breast cancer. I'm reading up a bunch of different companies that are running trials, but the one key finding that we find in these trials is no big pharmaceutical company is going to touch it because the drugs cannot be patented. They're off patent. They did their 10-year patent and they're done. So they can't make money off of it. So no big pharmaceutical company will touch this. So we're not going to see big trials going on. We do have smaller trials at the moment, which you could find online, which is great information to read up on yourself.
Exactly. And so mebendazole is actually giving breast cancer patients the medical freedom to explore affordable, accessible alternatives, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of similar to, what Donald Trump said is the right to try, giving you that ability to try an additional route or an additional treatment on top of what you're taking. Dr. Makis, as well as the physicians that we work directly with, as well as our pharmacists, are always going to tell the patient to continue doing the treatment their oncologist wants them to do. We always are going to say, tell your oncologist if you're taking these medications. A lot of patients are scared to tell them. Unfortunately, you should always mention to them that you are taking these other medications like ivermectin or mebendazole. We're just going to suggest it. What the patient does is what the patient wants to do. It's medical freedom. They have that ability to make that decision themselves. But we're big proponents of it. We're seeing some great data, and we're hoping that this trials in Florida starts soon through Dr. Latipo. So that would be awesome to see the results.
So double checking then. So then for breast cancer patients already on chemotherapy, how does All Family Pharmacy reassure them that mebendazole and similar options like ivermectin are both safe to combine with standard treatments and potentially more effective at supporting their fight, giving them the medical freedom to explore these without that fear of the interference? I know you talked about it a little bit there, but just more specifically.
Yeah, so based on our physicians and the protocols from Dr. Makis, they're prescribing it all the time with chemotherapy, radiation, as well as immunotherapy. So we're already getting data when people are taking chemo, radiation, and immunotherapy. One of the cool inserts that Dr. Makis went over about a month ago in Venice, Florida, was that he's actually seeing better results when they combine the two, when they combine the ivermectin and the mebendazole, and they combine it with a chemotherapy or immunotherapy. He's actually seeing fantastic results. And he went over, he cited a bunch of examples where patients with smaller stages of cancer, stage 1, 2, or possibly 3, but traditionally it was stage 2. They did about 2 or 3 rounds of chemo, and they came back and cancer was gone, or most of it was gone, and the oncologist was just wanting to make sure they finished the remaining 4, 5, 6 rounds of chemo, whichever cancer it was for. So that was pretty interesting to see, and he was citing a lot of examples. If you go to his Twitter, he cites these examples direct from patients who he communicates directly with, and just to be able to see that firsthand was amazing. He had a lot of patients there who actually beat cancer with chemo, radiation, immunotherapy, and his protocol. So that was also interesting to see. And a couple of them were patients of our pharmacy. We got to meet them. So that was also great as well.
Yeah, so it's the feedback, the positive feedback, the results that you're seeing. And now you guys have a, 40% off of mebendazole. So how can people say, hey, you know what, that's something I want to try? What do they do from there?
Yeah, so they can go directly on the website. We don't have a coupon code. What we like to do is we like to just release the discounts to everybody. New patient, old patient, doesn't matter. Anybody that wants to try the medications, we're going to give them a discount so that they could try it. Those who are already on it and they're seeing some results, hopefully they're positive, can go ahead and re-up or refill their prescriptions and stock up on supplies. Mebendazole is not a cheap product. It's not a cheap medication. If you go and buy it right now, when it's not compounded from a company like All Family Pharmacy, the manufacturer, last time I looked up, it was $650 for one chewable tablet. For 100 milligram chewable tablet, $650. So it's a little bit expensive in my eyes for just one tablet, $650. So we compound it, and you could buy 60 capsules for $120. Knock off 40%, it's like $90 for 60 capsules, whereas you're paying $650 for one. So you can go directly to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All of the discounts are applied. We've notated it on the website. got some medical questions to fill out with our doctors to make sure that it's safe and effective for you based on your medical history, and we can prescribe it. And if you have questions, you can give us a call.
And then on top of that, the biohacking that we've been talking about as well that you guys have to offer. So just a lot of options, aren't there?
Yes, we're big proponents of the biohacking. We love it. Those who want to try it, we'll hopefully have another discount coming soon, because last time we ran a biohacking discount, we had a lot of new patients call us or old patients who have never done NAD plus and tirzepatide or Simorlin or glutathione. They really were interested to try it. That discount gave them the ability to try it. And now they're buying it, once a month, once every other month, however long they need it for. It's an amazing new medications that are on the market, making people feel younger, act younger, speak more clearly, less brain fog. I love methylene blue. Methylene blue is on that discount. And a lot of people with cancer are trying the methylene blue, as it does that atropic effect where it cleans up the dead cells. Gets rid of them, kind of like when you're fasting for cancer. You're trying to clean up all those dead cells in your body so your body can concentrate on what's good.
Michael Kunzler, the owner of All Family Pharmacy, thank you again for spending the time with us. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Matthew Alvarez and Michael Kunzler for a breakthrough on your health. So important to have that medicine cabinet stocked with this research ongoing for the health of the nation. Let's make America healthy again. You could do that with allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. For many in our audience at 4:30 Eastern on this gorgeous Halloween Eve night in Washington, D.C., it's Medicare annual enrollment time. Chapter can help out with that. Knock out the Medicare to-do list. Call today. Do not delay. It's 833-438-3359. If you are 64 or older, you know what that means. Nonstop phone calls, the robocalls, spam calls. As I look now, getting one right at the moment. It's historical what's happened this year with these spam calls. But the spam text was someone trying to sell you something, and more often than not, it's complete garbage. The truth is, Medicare is confusing on its own, so why make it more complicated? Who benefits? Big insurance, big government. It's as if they're colluding together to harm you, the American people. So every year, they quietly change their plans. Some plans, they even drop millions of Americans without notice, and then they're stuck on their plans or stuck without the next Medicare option. So compare every Medicare plan through Chapter at 833-438-3359, leaving little confusion as you pursue what's best for you and your family. So even if you like your current plan, you've got to look at the 2026 options, and that's where Chapter comes in. Chapter doesn't work for big insurance nor government. They are independent. They are the only advisors who compare every Medicare plan nationwide so that it benefits you. So again, if you're 64 or older, let's go with Chapter, because on average, the people who work with Chapter save roughly $1,100 per year. The best part, all the help is free. 833-438-3359, right there for you. Now, also, speaking of financial health, why not protect that gut health? Because the two can go hand in hand at times. Brightcore with Kimchi 1, made here in the USA, their premier product, gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties, 888-722-0936. The microplastics are infiltrating every part of our lives, in the water, in the air, in the food that you consume. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week, and that's just a disgusting thought. But again, through water, through food, through the air we breathe because of the toxins. One study found particles in 100% of human lung samples. Nobody is safe from the exposure. It only gets worse as these plastics don't just sit in your body. They cross the gut lining, leach into your blood, and disrupt everything. They've been shown to alter gut bacteria. In fact, they suppress your immune system and response and increase your risk for neurodegenerative disease, metabolic disorders, and cancer. Some plastic toxins like BPA and Others really mimic hormones that interfere with fertility, even damaging DNA. Even if you eat clean and avoid packaged foods, you're still being exposed in the process. You can't opt out, but your gut can get healthy with Kimchi 1. Kimchi is a tremendous option, especially in this pill form when you're on the go. All provided to you by Brightcore, made here in the USA. Now, here's the key. 25% off with code RSBN, but if you call, you receive up to 50% off. So an additional 25% of savings, 888-722-0936. Thank you so much to Brightcore's Kimchi 1, made in the USA. And it ultimately comes back to the health you receive when you sleep and when you start your morning at mypillow.com/RSBN. A 6-piece towel set back in stock, normally going for $70, a big 70, now to $39.98, under $40. What a deal there, about half off. Very limited quantity. This will be off the shelves. Call today. Do not delay. It's 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network by visiting mypillow.com/RSBN. 2,000 products, all provided by this great Minnesota man, all made in America, with some of the best products from around the world, including those Giza Dream Sheets. But again, the 6-piece towel set, the big one back in stock, 2,000 options right there at mypillow.com/RSBN. Thank you to Mike Lindell. Get ready in less than an hour. President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump to hold a Halloween celebration at 5:30 Eastern. Stay tuned for that as Ambassador Greer is speaking at the moment. We'll take it live to him now. Latest from the trip overseas.
I just wanted to ask you about the trip to China. It's only, as far as I can understand it, it's only for a year, the current deals. Are you confident that's going to last, and what can you do to guarantee that?
Well, this is a confidence-building step, right? Everyone knows there have been challenges in the U.S.-China relationship. Maybe that's an understatement. But we've had very constructive discussions with them over the past 6 months. President Trump is very focused on having good relationships with every country in the world. And the U.S.-China relationship is maybe one of the most important. And so we'll take this year as a confidence-building step. We'll go piece by piece. We'll monitor compliance. We'll meet periodically. If there are issues, we'll communicate. We have a lot of channels of communication open with the Chinese, which is really good. It hasn't been like that during the Biden administration. It wasn't quite like that. But we've opened these channels of communication. They want to make sure that they can have a trade relationship with us. We want to make sure we have a fair trade relationship with them. And we'll take this opportunity over the year not only to work with them, but also to get our own house in order with respect to some of our own reindustrialization, rare earths, etc.
How confident are you that the flow of rare earth material will continue? Did you receive any specific assurances from the Chinese that we won't see something like what we saw at the beginning of the month?
Yes, exactly right. I mean, that was one of the key objectives going into this. If you'll recall, shortly after October 9th, when the Chinese said, we're going to control all rare earth in the world, anywhere, one of the primary goals is to get them not to do that. And the president's threat of going up to 100% tariffs effectively took care of that. But now we're in a position, so they're not doing that, right? They're not doing it for the world. The Chinese saw that the whole world reacted to this. They overstepped, and so they've now said we're not going to do that. We have some rare earth controls from earlier in the year on magnets where we got to a decent flow, but now we expect them to flow even better. We expect there to be more of a Chinese general approach to permissiveness and allow that rare earth magnet flow. So even that improves.
You were involved in the meeting with the Brazilian delegation. I'd like to know what's your perspective about those meetings, and if you can expect new meetings as early as next week, and if what can be negotiated, what's on the negotiation table, rare earths. What is your perspective? Thank you very much.
Sure. So when we were in Malaysia, the president and his team, we met with President Lula and his team. And in fact, a couple weeks before that, we met here in Washington. I met the very next morning at 8 a.m. With the Brazilian Foreign Minister, Secretary Besson, and I, and we exchanged views. We have passed to the Brazilians a few weeks ago a list of things that we think would be very helpful. I have a variety of things that I've identified in the Section 301 initiation against Brazil. There are a variety of things noted in an executive order imposing an additional 40% tariffs on Brazil. like I said, digital trade, agricultural practices, all kinds of things. So the leaders, President Lula and President Trump, they got along very well. They want to have a deal. We're looking at what the contours of that deal might be. I'm hoping to measure it in terms of weeks or months. My team's ready. We want to make sure that the Brazilians are going to play ball too.
Just one more question. President Trump said there'd be discussion with Blackwell's in the China meeting. Where does that stand? What's happening?
So we ended up talking about chips a little more broadly. And briefly, I would say, we have a lot of great chip manufacturers in the U.S. NVIDIA, of course, makes Blackwells and H20s and other things. We have a variety of chip makers who do logic, who do memory, who should have full access to the U.S. market. The Chinese had announced several different investigations of U.S. chip makers. We expect those investigations to go away, and we expect that they'll buy chips. Now, all that being said, we do have crown jewels in the United States, the Blackwells being part of those, so those were not really on the table or part of the discussion. The Blackwells? Yeah. I don't think that's on the table right now.
Ambassador Greer,
Oh yeah, that's it.
we gotta go.
Thanks,
Was
everybody.
China trade discussed at all, can you say?
Thank you to Ambassador Greer just off of the trip overseas. Well done to this extraordinary cabinet and really an amazing group of tough negotiators as President Trump complimented the Malaysian, Cambodian, Thai, also Vietnamese, South Korean, and ultimately Japanese and Chinese negotiators, saying they're tough. They are tough. They are good at what they do. I wish they weren't so tough, but we saw that we really benefited from so many of these countless deals, especially in the rare earth minerals. And we'll be breaking all of that down for you here at the network. But October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and you have several hours left to receive 40% off of mebendazole, a wonderful gift from allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for this Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Families searching for clarity, hope, answers, as this disease has hit most of us in one way or another. More people today are exploring repurposed medications like life-saving, affordable generics with most favored nation status, also right to try, but also with an online pharmacy that is only focused on pharmaceutical notes, not insurance, no red tape, no bureaucracy, or those agreements that force you to take other things. All Family Pharmacy believes you have the access and freedom to explore and obtain what's necessary to make you feel right for you, for your loved ones, and ultimately to find antiparasitic use for off-label cancer support with mebendazole. 40% off now through tomorrow, Halloween, at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code there for further details. No code needed with this, just the website itself. Thank you as well to Kalshi.com/RSBN, who will win the New York City mayoral election. Will it be a communist Democrat, Zoran Mandani, or the former governor of the Empire State, Democrat turned independent Andrew Cuomo? Will it be a miracle in the bottom of the ninth with Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee endorsed by America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, in a three-way race that has been historic by every measure since Eric Adams, the incumbent mayor, stepped aside and seemed to have a very jovial relationship with the former governor, Cuomo. Will the Los Angeles Dodgers surge back down 3-2 to win back-to-back World Series championships? Kalshi.com, it's music, it's sports, it's politics, it's culture, it's America in its finest form. And we know that the Japanese Prime Minister and her team, they are rooting for those Dodgers. What say you in the battle with the Toronto Blue Jays? That's all there for you at Kalshi.com/RSBN. It's been a decade plus now of your go-to rally network that's turned into your go-to live desk. Support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate. You can also text RSBN to 801-801. That will prompt you to the donation side of things, which we would deeply appreciate in this new media era that is not necessarily replacing, but offering an alternative view, the right view, the correct side of history, because we don't edit, we don't cut, we bring you right to those press conferences, right to your 45th and 47th President of the United States, to the 50th Vice President of the United States, as you saw him in Oxford, Mississippi last night, introduced by Erica Kirk at the Turning Point USA tour taking place. The Turning Point tour, in fact, that's been extraordinary and really a testimony in these large stadiums on campus. And they'll be here next week, November 5th. Well, sadly, not the vice president, but Benny Johnson, Eric and Laura Trump, also Senator Tommy Tuberville, the coach of Auburn University of yesteryear, to address the students and residents here in Auburn, Alabama. And I'm telling you, if you want to go, make sure you go there early because it'll be like a Trump rally. So All America First updates and exclusive offers can be found at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to donate by check or money order, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. The loveliest village on the plains. That's Auburn, Alabama, 36830-1550. Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. Auburn, Alabama, 36830. As taking a look out the window, it looks like an overcast sky on this fall day, but the sun is shining through on what's going to be a memorable evening for family and friends, also staff at the White House, and those who have the unique opportunity as kids to dress up and see their 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief and our most lovely First Lady, the elegant Melania Trump. As I was mentioning earlier in the broadcast, she is working on technological groundbreaking deals across the world, specifically with the Republic of Korea, to advance technological opportunities for children. As she stated earlier today, I am proud that the Republic of Korea is joining my global coalition to empower children through the promotion of technology, innovation, and education. As a longstanding leader in technological advancement, the Republic of Korea will offer invaluable insights to the participation of all nations in fostering the Future Together initiative. Yes, the Future Together initiative, as asserted by the First Lady. Now, developed by the White House Office of Science and Technology in coordination with the Office of the First Lady and signed during President Trump's visit to Asia, the United States-Korea Technologically Prosperity Deal will formalize cooperation on artificial intelligence, something that's on the forefront, and emerging technology. The tech deal includes language reflecting the First Lady's global initiative, which promotes the responsible use of advanced technology to support children, educators, and parents while protecting youth from online dangers. We saw that with her ability to pass bipartisan legislation led through the Senate by a coalition of Senator Ted Cruz of Texas and Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota to right the wrongs of those who lost family members to suicide due to online bullying, and also the exposure of nude photos and or videos or even AI imagery to make it look like people were participating in specific sexual acts, many of them minors, in what you might have heard, and not everyone knows unless they see it up front, but this revenge porn epidemic happening across the country. The First Lady worked hard to protect minors and their identities when people would seek to exploit them, whether it be fellow classmates to adults, which is just awful all around. Now, the background on this is launched during the 80th session of the United States General Assembly. Fostering the Future Together will make available to countries around the world advanced technology, including AI, to assist children, educators, and parents, while also promoting and protecting youth from those online dangers. Major technology companies have developed such tools to agree to make these advancements available to participating countries, either at no cost or a very low cost. Now, first spouses interested in participating in the initiative will work with their respective national governments to assess where they stand with different technologies available. They will also engage with the Office of the First Lady in dialogues on how to be best in the implementation and innovative technologies creating educational opportunities for the children of their respective nations, train educators and parents, and design advanced technologies in the future for learning environments that are safe. Now, Mrs. Trump will invite coalition members to Fostering the Future Together, an inaugural meeting at the White House in 2026 to discuss these important issues and opportunities. And this meeting will be a forum for coalition members across the world who have begun implementing their commitments to provide insight and recommendations surrounding online security for children throughout planet Earth. Now, these risks, potential policy ideas, and the First Lady's movement behind all of this will lead these coalition members to build on these initiatives as part of the Be Best platform, reflecting the Office of the First Lady's commitment to child welfare, and especially in this time of so much advancement in technology, definitely a story developing and watching. We thank the White House for that update, and we'll be looking forward to that in 2026 as President Trump will be visiting President Xi of China once again in Beijing or the surrounding area in April of 2026. We'll watch that extremely closely as this trip this past week has been remarkably successful. Sadly, week 5 now of the Chuck Schumer shutdown continues underway. 13 times the Senate Democrats have refused to move forward with a clean CR that came from the House of Representatives. We were fortunate enough this week to have Drianna Sixto, the Turning Point Action spokeswoman, join us to touch on these very critical issues as we approach this important date of November 1st. Welcome back to RSBN's Live Desk. It's Drianna Sixto, the Turning Point Action spokesperson. So much happening, Drianna, this week in politics. President Trump's big trip to Asia, but Governor DeSantis teaming up with Turning Point for a new initiative on the campuses. Can you break that news to us here on Right Side Broadcasting?
Yeah, absolutely. So this Monday, there was a really big announcement where Governor DeSantis promised that students that would like to bring a Turning Point chapter to their high school, now it's called Club America, so it would be a Club America chapter, to their high school, he would offer support. He would offer state support if these kids got denied their right to do so at any public high school. And this is something that I personally look forward to seeing being actually implemented. Before being a spokeswoman for Turning Point Action many years back, I was also on the field during a time where everything was mixed together, the college campus chapters and the high school chapters. And so I oversaw some of these and would try to help students start these at their schools. And it was so difficult, almost to the point of it being impossible on high school campuses because there were so many additional restrictions put in place. One would think that it being a public school, these students should have First Amendment rights. I mean, on the books, that is the case, right? But unfortunately, there are additional restrictions that schools would put that makes it impossible for this to be the case. For example, requiring that a teacher sign off on your club so that you can have it, right? And so a school will say, well, we're being fair because the requirement to start a club on this school campus is you need 5 members and a teacher to sign off for any club. So a leftist club can definitely easily find 5 students and a teacher because 95% plus of the faculty is left wing, versus the conservative students, the right wing students, they could have 30 kids interested in starting a club or more, but they can't find a teacher to sign off on their club because the teacher's afraid of repercussions or afraid of getting fired, because high school teachers, for the most part, they don't have tenure like college professors do. And so I would like to see if these situations do come up, that they get taken up with the state, as he said, during his press conference, that he had somebody right back there that would send a very angry letter and then follow it up with any legal proceedings if need be. Because this entire time, I mean, this is something I'm very passionate about because I do come from field operations and I do really love standing up for what I saw as like my kids and standing up for their rights. I'm so passionate about it. I wrote an article on this like years back on why legislation needs to be passed that prohibits any kind of impediment to First Amendment rights on these public high schools, such as the requirement of a signature from an adult or from a teacher or from somebody else to have it, because as it stands, one person can have their First Amendment rights versus another person not being able to because someone else doesn't allow them to. Meaning your First Amendment rights are dependent on somebody else giving you permission, and that's not okay. And more so since these students should have equal access to the resources that the school provides, like a safe classroom to hold their meetings and after school. These are things that are paid for by taxpayers, right? The taxpayers of the community, and everybody, all the students should have equal access to those resources. So I really do hope that this is a foot, in the right direction for true, meaningful change. Going down the line, I also think that this came as a result of the flooding of requests, new requests from students to start chapters. And as a result, we need to kind of streamline this process a little bit more, because how are we going to get thousands of new chapters started when students want to do it, but obviously we don't have thousands and thousands of staffers to manage quickly the hundreds of thousands of applications that we've gotten nationally to start these new clubs. And so we need things streamlined, and we need to take out of that pathway the obstacles that have been put by these leftist administrations for so many years. I'm glad Ron DeSantis, we finally grabbed his attention, and he's addressing it head on. And hopefully this dissuades leftist administrations from preventing these kids from having their clubs.
Yeah, something that state governors and legislatures can actually really address specifically, Driana. And I can affirm during my tenure with you in the field, you are that happy, fierce warrior who really goes to bat for your students. So a couple of questions I have. Are there safe spaces still in practice on some of these campuses? In addition to that, if you can explain what those things are, how are you addressing at Turning Point Action and even a whole of Turning Point USA just deciphering through all of these chapter requests, because we've seen breaking numbers since the tragedy and loss of our friend Charlie Kirk?
No, absolutely. Definitely. You see that more in colleges and universities, the whole safe spaces thing. Not as much as in the high schools. However, here's what happens when somebody puts in an inquiry to start a chapter. So a student goes online, goes to tpusa.com, fills out a form that says, I want to get involved, I want to start a chapter. A staffer from then on contacts them and says, great, you need a board, right? You need to have a full board. So you need the little president, the secretary, vice president. You need X amount of students to start an official recognized chapter by the organization, by Turning Point USA. Now, the school itself may have different requirements. So they might say you need 10 members to start a chapter, which is a little bit different. But at least from the organization's part, once you have those things in place, you will get an activism kit sent to you. So kids receive a box of supplies with buttons, stickers, rally signs that they can use to table and recruit during like their lunchtime or after school, or to give out to their friends to bring in new students to the chapter. And they also receive support from a staffer that, tells them, okay, well, maybe I can come on campus with you, with the school's permission, of course, and help you table and help you recruit more members. I have done that myself before. I have gone to a high school campus before during their lunch break and helped the kids table and sign up new kids. And it's frenzy every time that we did it. It was always just one time, as in they would only allow me on campus one time and would never allow me back again, because they're like, oh no, the school is plastered with socialism sucks buttons and we don't like that. And it was just a whole ordeal. So since then, they've definitely rebranded a lot to make things more high school friendly, so we don't have certain complaints. But still, once a chapter finds its way on a campus, it really does spread like wildfire. And then when that happens is when you see the liberal parents complaining to the administration. And as soon as that administration gets just a little bit of heat, just a few Karens, liberal leftist Karens, complaining about the chapter on campus, they decide to shut it down because it's too controversial, and put in additional problems in place saying, oh, this is too controversial. You need to pay for private security or a police officer to be there at your meeting. Just, again, additional restrictions so that it just becomes impossible to have these clubs, which is completely unfair to the kids. And so I really hope, again, that this new initiative by DeSantis does put in place some kind of legislation. That's what I hope, especially because Florida has a supermajority. We have a Republican supermajority. I think that we should pass legislation that prevents these additional unfair requirements to starting clubs on campuses. And by the way, I'm for this applying to everybody. If kids want to have their left-wing chapters, so be it. Okay, great. The best way to convince somebody of what you believe in is by providing them with both sides of an argument and showing them why yours is better. But unfortunately, that's not happening. So I really do hope some legislation passes that takes away the requirement of there needing to be some kind of teacher signature to sign off on clubs. I think that's the biggest one. I think requirements requiring the public, making public the name and information of students that are part of clubs available to other students and to teachers on campuses is another requirement that's taken off, because this is another disincentive for students to get involved politically, because sure, they might, find their group of people within a Club America chapter, but then if their name is published on the school's website as being a member of this club and their left-wing teacher sees it, they might unfortunately receive the repercussions of that. So all of these little things need to be addressed, and I'm sure that they will come up as cases up to the state as we see things progress. And hopefully with each case that gets seen and gets addressed, they find permanent legislation to ban these practices that have been going on for such a long time. I really do hope that this leads to finally free speech on these high school, at least the public ones. The private ones are a whole different story. They can, just say no because they feel like it. And they have a right to. As conservatives, we believe in their right to do that. What is ironic, however, is that a lot of these private high schools, a lot of them Christian or Catholic, have been the most difficult, if not impossible, to start these Club America / Turning Point USA chapters, that despite the fact that a conservative club like that advocates for their right to even exist, while leftist clubs and leftist organizations wouldn't, if it were up to them, just wouldn't allow them to exist, to have a private high school that is faith-based. That's not something that the left believes in. So again, something very, very interesting to me when I was in the field, and hopefully through public pressure, we can change how some of those schools operate. So kids that are in private schools have the same opportunities as the ones that are in public schools do.
Yes, we need less Karens and more Driana Sixtos out there. As I confided in you and other colleagues, DePaul University was in my territory, and my goodness, that was the most difficult place in Chicago, Illinois, a so-called Catholic university. But once you go on campus there, you realize it's more Islamist than anything else, in addition to many threats of me just walking on the campus with those students, working with them to get these things done. And they actually threatened to have me arrested on a number of occasions simply for walking on their property. But we know the difference between public and private property there. Adriana, going overseas to President Trump's trip to Asia, what are some of your thoughts on this? We've seen rare earth deals and military deals, as well as the president and the prime minister of Japan coming together to speak to the troops in Japan and really acclaim that great alliance that we have with the Japanese nation. It seems as if the Chinese Communist Party really has its backs against the ropes.
Yep. And thank God for that. Thank God that recently, this new prime minister of Japan, female prime minister of Japan, was elected. She is very, very conservative, leaning in her politics. It seems like this movement that Trump started has really expanded beyond borders. This right-wing no nonsense movement, and it's really great since obviously we know that the previous rulership was tragically assassinated. We see this pattern of violence coming from the left in attacking and silencing strong right-wing voices. So I think that this meeting was necessary, and it just showed a lot of hope towards a continued strengthened relationship between the U.S. And Japan. We have a lot of similar values, despite being quite literally on opposite ends of the earth. I think that Japan is very conservative culturally. It is a nation that supports law and order and borders and strong enforceable immigration policies. Its citizens truly support that and believe in that as well. I think that is the root stem of where our alliance really comes from. The fact that we have country first policies. We have America first policies. They have Japan first policies. And so we can respect that from one another and have, as a result, fair trade deals, right? Because in the past, it may have been a little bit skewed. Every person is looking out for the best interests of their countries and is just making sure that we have fair policies in place. So it's been great to see Trump doing his Asian tour and pretty much being the peace seeker and peace negotiator this entire time, including with some of those rare minerals deals and tariff deals in some of the countries he went to on Monday as well, because today it was Japan. So he's just, he hasn't stopped, has a lot of energy. Maybe he'll finally get that Nobel Peace Prize that he so rightfully has earned, but hasn't gotten sometime before Leo gets his Oscar.
Yes, that's a really good point. And of course, the Venezuelan leadership who did receive that Nobel Peace Prize, dedicating that to President Trump and his administration. But I also like to see that the Japanese are big baseball fans and cheering on the Los Angeles Dodgers as they caught the first half of that historic Game 3, the longest, I believe, just shy of 7 hours, 18 innings. Well, they caught the first half of that. So the Japanese prime minister saying to President Trump, "I'm sorry I was slightly late to the bilateral meeting. We were enjoying that moment." Great Japanese players that have been up and down the West Coast over the years. Bringing it back stateside, do you see any leverage changing with the Democrats who have really dug their heels into the sand on this government shutdown entering week 5? Chuck Schumer is putting himself before the American people, and now we saw with Minority Leader Jeffries endorsing Zoran Mamdani 1 week before the New York City mayoral election. Is this not now a full-blown communist party?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they just have shown their true colors little by little. They do not disavow even the worst candidates. You have Mamdani in New York, who's openly socialist. You have an AG Democrat governor running in New Jersey that wished for death upon his political opponents and their political opponent's child. Without receiving any kind of redaction of Democrat endorsements. So they have no problem whatsoever in supporting these kinds of people and bringing socialism to the United States. And on top of that, are acting outside of the interests of the American public by not funding the government, while they are promoting socialist politicians, they are holding back on the paycheck of government employees that are essential. Our military is not getting paid. TSA agents are losing on paychecks just so that they can fund or basically get healthcare services provided to by what they say aren't illegal aliens or illegal citizens. But I spoke about this on another program. Yes, that does include DACA recipients. Those are Those are included in the legal permanent residents when it comes to defining who can and can't receive medical government aid. So yes, they are indeed holding out on funding for illegal aliens, people that don't have legal status in this country. And they're putting those interests first before American citizens. Not just that, November 1st, if this continues, there will be no more funding for food stamps, the SNAP program. So everybody that is on that is going to quite literally starve if they are fully dependent on it. We'll see what happens after that. I think that maybe since a lot of the Democrat base is subsidized or is, does receive part of these welfare benefits, which I am for definitely regulating so that it doesn't become a lifestyle, but just a safety net as it was originally intended. A straight cutoff is not the answer either, right? And it shouldn't be done because of the fact that Democrats are playing a game of chicken with the lives of American citizens. That's exactly what's happening here. I think that if any Democrat is being paid to hold off on a vote or to vote no on passing the budget by any outside interest, any kind of outside organization, they should be held honestly in contempt of this country. They should be tried for treason. And I believe that that is what is happening right now. Democrat politicians are being incentivized monetarily to hold out and to continue to vote no on passing a spending budget, which I think is treasonous to American citizens. So hopefully we'll investigate a bit on that and they just stop this charade.
Well, Chairman Comer does have some free time now as the AutoPen investigation has been released. So we'll delve more into that. It's a sad state of affairs. So lots of public employees, whether it's the Garden State of New Jersey, New York City, the Big Apple, of course, the Commonwealth of Virginia, lots of our military there. President Trump recently visiting the Norfolk Naval Station, the largest in the world. Driana Sixto, the Turning Point Action spokeswoman, thank you so much for diving into these big issues and for sharing with us what's happening in the free sunshine state of Florida. Come back and see us soon on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
You might be thinking, and it's a rhetorical question, don't answer through the camera. I can't get all the answers at once. How much time you spend online? Well, Perplexity is helping you solve that with their latest AI-powered web browser known as Comet. Browse at the speed of thought with pplx.ai/RSBN. A great way to not only research where you're going to travel on that business trip, but also get ready for restaurant bookings, to important things that cannot be missed, such as museums, to getting in and around town at the speed of thought. Comet is the newest AI web browser from Perplexity. And think about having a personal assistant to help you through many of these crucial items, whether it be at work or for pleasure, all while trying to get through your day. I know that it saves me a lot of time and energy as I go about my day, but I can only imagine just having a bunch of kids running around and trying to get to their extracurriculars, including football during this fall season. So rely on a personal assistant that's literally in your web browser at AI, the new powered browser by Perplexity, a great tool to use as you can go to pplx.ai/RSBN for all of that. Thank you to the miracle that is angelpaste.com as well. Speaking of the fall weather and this dry weather that hits this time of year, that vitamin B miracle cream can really make a big difference. Non-GMO, no chemicals. Also the orange option, vitamin C infused, a great way to stay healthy during this time of year. Also that facial spray that you can use to paint the town red on that first date or maybe that 50th wedding anniversary, whatever it might be. Join the Patriots, a Christian-owned company out of Spring, Texas, off the Gulf of America. Angelpaste.com for countless products that can help your skin throughout the year. Also, covepure.com/RSBN. It all starts in the gut, and with Flint, Michigan, and Democrat-led cities that have really neglected their infrastructure. Remember the lead pipes that got into the water and lead poisoning that could lead to stomach issues, to liver damage, brain cancer. You need this reverse osmosis system that is no bigger than your coffee maker on your kitchen counter. Covepure.com/RSBN, $200 off. If you scan the QR code there now for the Clearwave technology, removing fluoride and pesticides, agricultural runoff, and yes, hormone-blocking disruptors such as birth control that don't get completely filtered out by your local water treatment center. In fact, JAMA Pediatrics doing a study of students and children who lost so much of their learning from the COVID years, now losing 2 or more points on their IQ if they're drinking out of the tap water on a regular basis. So protect what matters most. You can see there through the video how easy this is to use for hot water, warm water, cold water, teas, or simply lemon water, or whatever you like to do in the morning. It's good to get those couple of glasses in to hydrate your body to start the day. It's all there at covepure.com/RSBN, the leader in Clearwave technologies and reverse osmosis systems. Yes, scan that QR code now for $200 off. covepure.com/RSBN. At 5:15 Eastern, we are roughly 15 minutes away from the Halloween celebration hosted by the President of the United States and the office of the First Lady, Melania Trump, right there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue on a star-studded red carpet type of evening on October 30th on the eve of Halloween. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's definitely there on the East Coast, 2:15 on the West Coast. We'll take a quick commercial break. I'm Robert McNeely. It's a joy to be with you here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk. from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network as we're moments away from President Trump and the First Lady, Melania Trump, hosting a Halloween celebration right there at your house, the People's House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's a home, a private home, but also a museum and also the workplace of the 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief, who is beautifying all of this. And I'm enjoying the meltdown happening from far left big government Democrats, whether it be on municipal boards all the way up through the federal government, somehow keeping their head in the sand and not realizing that this is being funded privately. But yet they complain about this very successful trip President had with cut number 2, Mr. Producer, stating he had a truly great meeting with China's Xi Jinping. Now, there's enormous respect between our two countries, and that it will only enhance with what just took place. We agreed on many different things, with others even of high importance, and being very close to resolve. Now, I was extremely honored by the fact that President Xi authorized China to begin the purchase of massive amounts of soybeans and sorghum and other farm products. Now, our farmers will be very happy. In fact, as I said once during my first administration, farmers should immediately go out and buy more land and larger tractors. I would like to thank President Xi for this. Additionally, China has agreed to continue the flow of rare earth, critical minerals, magnets, etc., openly and freely. Very significantly, China has strongly stated that it will work diligently with us to stop the flow of fentanyl into our country. They will help us end the fentanyl crisis, and China has also agreed that they will begin the process of purchasing American energy. In fact, a very large-scale transaction may take place concerning the purchase of oil and gas from the great state of Alaska. Chris Wright, Doug Burgum, and our respective energy teams will be meeting to see if such an energy deal can be worked out. Now, the agreements reached today will deliver prosperity and security to millions of Americans. After this historic trip to Asia, I'm now heading back to Washington, D.C., and I want to thank the great countries of Malaysia, Japan, and South Korea for being so generous, gracious, and hospitable. Also, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, who were at the dinner last night, hosted by His Excellency President Lee Jae-myung of South Korea. Hundreds of billions of dollars are being brought into our country, and because of them, our nation is strong, respected, and admired again, and the best is yet to come. As Frank Sinatra once said, as President Trump often states, yes, it's true, the best is yet to come. And tonight, perhaps the best for those ghouls and goblins, those firemen and police officers. Of course, I'm not talking about real-life vampires or even Frankenstein, but the adorable kids who will be able to see their president right up front, in close, in person, as he will be handing out candy to those. I mean, this gentleman just got off of the plane roughly a couple of hours ago, but we know President Trump is nonstop after a 14-hour nonstop trip from Busan, South Korea to Joint Base Andrews. So we look forward to taking you there live to the White House just moments from now. But a big aspect of this trip, not only being the peacemaker with Cambodia and Thailand and their respective kingdoms, but also the military advancements with the Japanese Navy in joint exercises with our USS George Washington in port in the Empire of Japan. But those Tomahawk missiles going their directions, ultimately the business negotiations and discussions that affect so much of this neck of the woods in America, from Mississippi to Alabama and Georgia, with Toyota, a great Japanese car manufacturer, to Hyundai, and the issue that existed with the illegal immigration at that Georgia plant, all being ironed out as Hyundai and Toyota now really leading the way of building cars, manufacturing them right here in America. So a huge trip You could call this the next book, perhaps, The Art of Diplomacy by Donald John Trump. As we break all of this down, cut number 4, Mr. Producer. There is no Navy even close to that of the United States of America, as we recently celebrated their 250th birthday anniversary. President Trump and the Prime Minister of Japan reviewing the sailors and the success of the United States Navy.
Great honor to be here. And I'm thrilled to be here among thousands of proud American patriots. The cherished alliance between the United States and Japan is one of the most remarkable relationships in the entire world. As Commander-in-Chief, I never forget that our ultimate strength does not come from equipment. It comes from the men and women of the rank and file. No enemy will ever even dream of threatening America's Navy. There's no Navy even closer. Nobody can do what we do. Nobody has what we have. For 2.5 centuries, America's Navy has preserved the vision of our first Commander-in-Chief, who gave the ship its storied name, its righteous soul, and its timeless motto, first in war, first in peace.
Forged by the sea, that's our Navy in 2025, something to be very proud of. And thank you to all in uniform who selflessly sacrifice domestically and abroad to make America great again. For many in our audience, it's that time of year again with Medicare enrollment. It's the annual enrollment. If you're 64 or older, you need to check out Chapter and knock out the Medicare to-do list. Call today. Do not delay. It's 833-438-3359. Compare every single Medicare plan, because the truth is Medicare is confusing on purpose. And why would they do that? Because big insurance companies, they can collude on a time or two with big government as well, but every year they quietly change their plans, and it might come up as a shock to you. Some plans they even drop completely, which is just criminal when you think about it. This leaves millions of Americans stuck on plans they don't want or can no longer use. So even if you like your current plan, it is imperative to look at the 2026 options. That's where Chapter comes in to play. Chapter does not work for big insurance. They work for you, the American people. They're independent of government bureaucracy and simply want to bring you the most effective and cost-affordable options for your Medicare plan. They're the only advisors who compare every single one across the board and across the entire nation. Now, what fits your needs and preferences, they will make things quick and easy for you, so really no hassle to call today and not delay any further. 833-438-3359. Compare every single Medicare plan using Chapter. Thank you also to Brightcore. With microplastics in the air, the water, even in our food, this made in the USA product of Kimchi 1 will protect gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties. One study finding that plastic particles are in 100% of human lung samples. It's really quite frightening on this Halloween Eve. Nobody is safe from exposure. It only gets worse. These plastics don't just sit in the body. They cross the gut lining, get into your blood, and make you overall sluggish. No one is immune from it. They've even been shown to alter gut bacteria. But get yourself back on track with Brightcore Kimchi 1, made right here in the USA. These BPAs can lead to metabolic disorders, neurodegenerative diseases, even cancer, with some plastic toxins like BPA, and those things mimicking hormones and making you ill, with interfering with fertility, damaging DNA. My goodness, you need this Kimchi 1 with packing over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi, proven to break down the BPA and these plastic toxins. So do not delay. Protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, your future today. It's Kimchi 1 by Brightcore, made in the U.S. of A. 888-722-0936. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. I could tell you I'm one of those, like President Trump. I like to get 4 to 6 hours of sleep. I got to get more sleep. I really do. I'll work on that in the new year. In the meantime, I have plenty of MyPillow products to help me get my day started and to help me have that better night's sleep. With a 6-piece towel set back in stock, normally $70, a big 70, going for under $40 now. The master marketer, as President Trump put it back in Warren Township, Michigan, during the 100-day celebration of this second term. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Again, call today. Do not delay. 800-836-7566. This very limited quantity will go. You can see all the different colors there. And these are towels that actually do their jobs, like make you dry getting out of the shower or the bath. What an amazing thought there. They're not cheaply made. They're made right here in America with the best quality products. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network today. MyPillow.com/RSBN. And look at the Halloween decorations on this magical evening at the South Lawn of the White House. In fact, President Trump driving from Joint Base Andrews, not taking the usual coming off of Air Force One down onto Marine One, because the South Lawn's all decorated with trick-or-treaters. And let not your heart be troubled, because you might be asking, oh my goodness, it's almost 6 o'clock Eastern, 30 minutes from now. That's usually when the Voice of Reason takes place. Well, we'll have a special broadcast and a Halloween special on this very fair evening, because President Trump and the First Lady, they take a higher priority than our personalized show, and that's okay. But my goodness, the President of the United States was able to visit recently, so we look forward to you tuning into a Halloween special at 7 o'clock Eastern, just an hour after our normal 6 o'clock. And if that's any sooner, we'll go right into that after this broadcast from the White House, roughly 90 minutes from now. So stay tuned for episode 21 of The Voice of Reason, a Halloween special featuring President Trump as well, as he's holding his own celebration right there at the White House. So thank you for tuning in on this Halloween Eve on an absolute gorgeous night at the White House. We look forward to celebrations there as we break down the last week of President Trump's successes overseas. Really a win for the American people. With cut number 1, Mr. Producer, a reminder as he was meeting with the Chinese president, Mr. Xi Jinping, also the leader of the Communist Party, that the United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during President Trump's first term in office. Now, because of this tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it but had no choice. Russia is second, and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Now, because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And it's very similar to what he did in April of 2017, hosting Xi Jinping at Mar-a-Lago at the Southern White House, as they were enjoying the final course of that dinner, turtle cheesecake, where President Trump leaned over to the Chinese premier and said, I just dropped the mother of all bombs on ISIS, and their caliphate is over. And the message was received loud and clear. This is the peace president, and it's done peace through strength, as you saw those banners in the Japanese Empire. As you look at a live shot there of the South Lawn and the Truman balcony of the White House. Out in the distance there, the Treasury building, and that newly installed American flag pole that is flying boldly on this October 30th, 2025. Now, you might have missed it. In case you did, President Trump sitting across from the Chinese president and the ambassador from the United States to China, Mr. David Perdue of Georgia, as well as cabinet officials who were there for that moment and the roughly 2-hour meeting before President Trump arrived, coming back to Washington, D.C. Now, if we get a live look there of the president and the first lady, it looks like the music is underway, and we should have them momentarily. We look forward to seeing great decorations there and some jack-o'-lanterns to get in the festive fall mood, which is really, in a way, Halloween, a kickoff to not only Thanksgiving, but the Advent season, Hanukkah, and Christmas. So much to be thankful for in 2025, this golden era as we approach 250 years of the United States of America. Number 3, the bilateral meeting of President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping that was there just yesterday.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with a friend of mine, really for a long time now, if you think about it. The very, very distinguished and respected President of China. And we will be having some discussions. I think we've already agreed to a lot of things, and we'll agree to some more right now. But President Xi is a great leader of a great country, and I think we're going to have a fantastic relationship for a long period of time. And it's an honor to have you with us. Thank you very much.
October also happens to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as President Trump to hold a Halloween celebration there at the White House. It's important to remember the families that are searching for clarity, for hope, for answers during this time of year. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, helping in giving back 40% off of mebendazole now through the Halloween celebration. So through tomorrow, 40% off of mebendazole, an antiparasitic used for cancer research and off-label support that might help in the fight against breast cancer. More people today are exploring repurposed medications like mebendazole for health solutions and potential cancer support. All Family Pharmacy believes you deserve access to these life-saving missions and medications, and the freedom to explore what will make your family feel right, make you feel right, and ultimately get you healthy again. They make the process simple. A licensed doctor evaluates your pharmaceutical note in every order to ensure it's appropriate access and also that the medication is shipped directly to your door. So the final hours of this through tomorrow, Halloween, 40% off of mebendazole. It's no trick, but just a treat for you. Something to help in this process for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. No code needed, as you've seen with other discounts. Just scan the QR code there now or visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for 40% off of mebendazole. Now, the storm building beneath the dollar, the BRICS nations, also banks failing. For years, we've seen clear signs that the dollar is weakening, and it's impossible to miss unless you're living under a rock. Now, gold has broken through that $4,000 per ounce, and also silver past $50. And it's not just luck, it's logic at this time of year. When governments spend beyond their means, it's gold and silver that have stood the test of time in this bull market for these hot commodities. Wealth, security, preservation. Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide. Protect your retirement, your pensions, your savings, and all that you worked hard for by reaching out to Monetary Gold, the best in the business. 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate the IRA fees permanently for life. These metals don't depend on promises. They don't vanish with confidence. They have stood the test of time. Physical gold quietly and decisively gaining over the course of 5,000 years of human history. RSBNforthegold.com. That's where you can visit for that presidential gold guide. It is something that's actually built on something, a hot commodity, not just paper, as the next headline might reveal. Another bank failure. RSBN for the Gold is where you should visit. As your go-to Rally Network, now your go-to live desk since January, unbridled access, in fact, to your 50th Vice President, the 119th Congress, and, of course, your 45th and 47th President of the United States. Goodness gracious, I miss Trump Force One from the election last year, but Air Force One, not too shabby. Support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate, or text RSBN to 801. That will prompt you with a donations page. If you like check and money orders, prefer that way. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. It's no tricks with Right Side Broadcasting Network, only treats as we get down to the Halloween celebration tonight at the White House and the office of the First Lady going above and beyond once again with really lovely ornate decorations to crack open the holiday season. It's my favorite time of year. There's college football, there's pro football, and you just want to grab a great cup of joe and perhaps that pumpkin-flavored theme, whatever it might be, and enjoy what is something that does bring us together as Americans. And it's the future of our country. It truly is our kids. One of the joys in my life, even though I don't have them myself, but I have some young ones in the family, to see friends having kids, to watch our parents become grandparents, and to continue the legacy that is this American story. And perhaps no grander and no better than in this golden era. And as we heard from Ambassador Monica Crowley, who really was the master of ceremonies over the Asian Pacific trip, she has mentioned in speeches that every great civilization has a turning for the better direction or the worst, perhaps even a turning point, as we've seen this year has been just that. And where do we go? Do we have a revival? Do we return to church? Do we commune together in our neck of the woods and think not only what can I do better for my community, but as President John Fitzgerald Kennedy once mentioned in 1961 at his inaugural on January 20th, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Every one of us, I believe, has that in our hearts. And I sure know I've asked in my own life, where can I be better, especially after the loss of the late, great Charlie Kirk on this Turning Point tour brought to you not only by his legacy, but by that of what you did back on November 5th of last year as we approach that anniversary of the re-election of Donald John Trump as the 47th president of the United States. He's someone who could have just said, you know, I showed you the way. I'm going to pack up. I'm going to relax. I'm going to go on that beach, as he mentioned during the campaign trail. But he said, I'm not one for sitting on a beach, for having all the salt water hit my beautiful body and the sunshine hit my face, as he was in many ways the comedian in chief on the campaign trail and someone who has tackled this job not only with laser focus, but with that sense of humor, something that we all need every day. And President Trump provides that, and now he'll meet with the youngest Americans to hand out candy with his lovely wife, our First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump. Let's go live to the music now as the United States, I believe it's the Air Force Orchestra that is celebrating this evening, but we got some violins, we have some violas. Let's listen live.
Go for it. So are we going on now? Not too bad. So when is he going to have it?
We don't know. They're going to let Andrea get a few pictures of him and take a stand. That's what she said. So we'll see. Hey, Alex, it's very wet. That grass is soaking wet.
I have a stool.
You have a stool?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, where exactly are we going?
On the grass. Right next to the driveway.
On this side.
No.
Not the other side.
Grass next to the driveway.
Thank you.
Sure, buddy.
A festive start to Halloween with the President of the United States and the First Lady. I think some top costumes there. Of course, a couple of Minions, plenty of Spider-Men. But that McDonald's billboard with the two youngsters, those toddlers, that was quite adorable. And that wide-load toilet, I don't know what that was, but rather funny. And then the twins from The Shining. And then to have The Shining music cued the theme by the United States military, that was rather spooky, with some great holiday hits and some epics thrown in there. Phantom of the Opera to Pirates of the Caribbean, and of course, some of your Halloween favorites. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. It's a spooky sale. More of a treat than a trick, though. 6-piece towel sets back in stock, normally $70. Down to $39.98. What a great deal for Mr. Mike Lindell. A very limited quantity. This will go fast. 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network. Over 2,000 items. The master marketer, as President Trump puts it, it's Mike Lindell with his products right out of the great state of Minnesota, American made. Make your nights and mornings better at mypillow.com/RSBN. If you like what you see with your go-to rally network turned into your go-to live desk, support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate, or text RSBN to 801-801. Also a check or money order address, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. The loveliest village on the plains. It's in Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Get all America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Please like, share, and subscribe. As 1 year ago today, we were in Green Bay. And President Trump, an official White House photo there of the vest. It was quite a moment to celebrate. Some of my own personal photos as I was with MAGA Megan Kohler up in a land where it's quite rejected at times for Chicago Bears fans, but being next to the great Brett Favre, it was an exciting event with the North Carolina ladies as well, who are the most extraordinary of volunteers, in a packed house next to Lambeau Field. This, for me, was probably the loudest event of all of them, even louder than Madison Square Garden. And when President Trump walked out with that orange vest in honor of then Autopen President Joe Biden for calling MAGA supporters garbage. And what a communications team to turn that around within 1 hour to make Truth in Comedy, to celebrate Halloween 1 year ago with the orange vest. It was really quite a moment and one of the more memorable rallies from 1 year ago. And just to get some of that velocity, that volume, here's a quick video I took from the Media Riser.
I'm serious,
saying 250 million Americans are not dark.
1 year ago today in Green Bay, Wisconsin, the trick was Kamala Harris and the treat Donald John Trump. 8 wars solved in 8 months and 9 on the cusp, all with this great Asian tour concluding tonight in the Halloween celebration. Let not your heart be troubled. In 13 minutes from now, a very special Voice of Reason, the Halloween special, in fact, episode 21. And President Trump paid a visit to Opelika, Alabama. So be sure to tune in minutes from now. Get all America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. For all of my colleagues here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I have to change real quick. We've got a show in a few minutes. Have a wonderful evening. Stay tuned for the Voice of Reason's Halloween special, and may God bless you and yours. I'm Robert McNeely. We'll see you soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.